long, serpentine formation, with a distance of 500 meters between each vessel. At the very first moment of the ship's advance, a new command was issued: disperse. He recalled how, in the game, he had clumsily activated this skill multiple times, resulting in friendly fire from the fan-shaped torpedo launches. Therefore, he promptly issued a reminder. The cost of these weapons is also significant. The loss of so many enemy forces had already brought him some relief. After all, one should save where they can while spending wisely. On the surface, all cruisers followed the command and lined up in a long formation. The enemy had entered the attack range and could not be allowed to escape. The ship's captain lowered the telescope and ordered, "Fire all torpedoes." With the captain's command, the entire fleet seemed to awaken like a slumbering giant. Hundreds of cruisers simultaneously unleashed their fan-shaped launching skills. The launchers at the bow of each ship opened up like the gaping maw of a giant beast, spewing forth thousands of torpedoes. Under the morning light, these torpedoes shimmered with a ghostly blue glow, slicing through the water like arrows aimed at the sea monster. The torpedoes darted through the water, leaving behind trails of white, quickly closing in on the massive creature. When the first torpedo struck its target, the surface of the ocean was instantly engulfed in a tremendous explosion, sending powerful shockwaves radiating outward from the point of detonation, creating towering waves. Following that, the second, third, and countless more torpedoes came in succession, each explosion resonating like a roar from the heavens, shaking the entire sea. The sea monster wailed amidst the continuous explosions, its body torn apart, blood and flesh scattering. The surface was littered with the remnants of the sea monster and countless marine creatures affected by the blast. As the last explosion subsided, the sea gradually returned to calm, leaving behind a scene of devastation and a strong smell of gunpowder. Congratulations to the demon teams Subai for successfully defeating the Octopus clan and acquiring their ability, Flexible Body. Note: Flexible Body increases the softness of all biological units' bodies, reducing damage by 50 when subjected to melee attacks. This was somewhat mediocre. His main battle unit was an armored vehicle, so the effect wasn't significant. Subai shifted his gaze back to the Scissorhand Blood Beast. This guy had been holding its breath underwater for a long time, still not coming out like an old turtle. Quite impressive at hiding, Subai thought. It seemed the previous electroshock therapy wasn't effective enough. The dosage needed to be increased. After some contemplation, Subai suddenly came up with a good idea: to load the torpedoes from the Naginata cruiser onto the Kirov and drop bombs across this water area. Subai was sure that the opponent would have to come out eventually. Chapter 252. The Central Continent team struggles in hardship in the deep water. The Scissorhand Blood Beast was struggling fiercely against the terrifying robot attached to it after undergoing a transformation. These tiny parasites, while not lethal, were an endless itch, severely disrupting its fighting spirit. Holding its breath for an extended period tested its limits. Fortunately, the diving ability gained from devouring the whale shark lord had significantly increased, allowing it to continue lurking in these waters. It was infuriating. How could humans create such tenacious parasites that it couldn't shake off even underwater? It cursed inwardly. And at the same time, the energy surging within it from the recent feast prompted a decisive decision. It began to mobilize all its strength. A brilliant, golden slime gradually formed on the surface of its skin. This slime was as precious as the amber produced by the queen of the insect race, worth a fortune. If Subai witnessed this scene, he would surely be heartbroken, as every drop represented a loss of wealth. The slime quickly covered its entire body, tightly wrapping around the annoying, terrifying robots. It was as if they had fallen into amber, their movements slowed and ultimately imprisoned by the hard shell. A sense of satisfaction surged within the Scissorhand Blood Beast. Success. It exerted all its strength, expelling the amber-like substance through its pores, feeling as if a heavy burden had been lifted, completely relieved. Humans, this time I don't even need to get close to make you pay the price. The Scissorhand Blood Beast soared high, harnessing the power of the current, charging towards the surface, ready to unleash its fury in a wave of destruction. However, fate seemed to enjoy playing cruel tricks. Just as it was about to break through the surface and see the light again, the sky appeared to split open, and small deep-sea bombs rained down like dark clouds, directly colliding with its charge. The underwater moment was illuminated by the explosion's light. A massive shockwave sent the entire water surface into a frenzy. The Scissorhand Blood Beast was ruthlessly swept into the turmoil, tumbling and crashing, as if its internal organs were about to be torn apart. A mouthful of dark blood gushed out, dyeing the surrounding waters red. Above the surface, bubbles churned, signaling the brutality of the underwater battle. Subai watched everything with a cold smile at the corner of his mouth. On the other side, in the extermination sword formation, controlling the formation was exhausting. Jean-Lon took a damp towel and wiped Zheng Ye's forehead. "Can you hold on?" a worried captain from another team asked. Zheng Ye forced a smile. "I have to hold on, even if I can't." The other person shook their head and sighed repeatedly. Is it really going to end here? But just as the words left their mouth, a hint of joy appeared on Jean Lan's face. Captain, I can feel it with my mental energy. We can now communicate with the two teams outside the Iron Blood Demon Palace. One is the Moon Surface team, and the other is the Demon team, led by Su Bai. Upon hearing this news, the other team members, who had felt hopeless just moments ago, all stood up from the ground. Earlier, they thought they were doomed, their legs weak as they trembled on the ground. Now, this news was undoubtedly a lifeline. Jean Lan, hurry and contact them. Yes, quickly contact them. Tell them to break the barrier from the outside and rescue us. Jean Lan nodded. Don't worry, I'll let the captain decide. She looked at Zheng Ye. Captain, should we contact the Moon Surface team or the Demon team for help? Without hesitation, Zheng Ye chose the Moon Surface team. As a result, many team members immediately began to voice their objections. What? Are you kidding? The Moon Surface team? There's only one person in their entire team. Can he really save us? Right, the recognized strong team is the Demon team. Why not ask Su Bai for help? Exactly. Every one of them is a fierce warrior, with forces numbering in the hundreds of thousands. Jean Lan ignored the crowd's dissent. She quickly connected her thoughts and entered the mind of Lung Hanyue from the Moon Surface team. Captain of the Moon Surface team. This is Jean Lan from the Central State team. We are trapped in the Iron Blood Demon Palace and hope you can come to our rescue. I'll send you the coordinates. Please. In an instant, Lung Hanyue's voice echoed in the void. Oh, it's the beautiful Jean Lan. Isn't your Celestial Alliance supposed to be very powerful? Why do you need someone like me to support you? Zheng Ye forced a smile. Your help won't be without compensation. I can exchange the main god points for the treasures you need. No need for that. I don't lack points at all. The conversation shifted. In your team, there are two beautiful women. One is this young lady, Jean Lan, and the other is an assassin beauty with the surname Zhao. You asked them to accompany me for a night, and this little matter has troubled me. Upon hearing this, Shao Kong snorted coldly. You pervert. Aren't you afraid I'll cut you up? Jean Lan also angrily said, you are too shameless, and then directly hung up the communication. Captain, let's contact Su Bai instead, Zheng Ye said, unable to swallow his pride. This is because Su Bai inherited the powers of the devil body from Zheng Ye, making them sworn enemies. Now he had to plead with his enemy, which was too much. Captain, at this point, staying alive is the most important thing. After a struggle with his thoughts, he finally agreed. I understand. A real man knows when to bend and when to stand firm. Jean Lan, connect us. Soon, Su Bai was connected. Just as Jean Lan was about to speak, Zheng Ye took the initiative to say, Captain of the Demon team. I am the captain of the Zhongzhou team. We are currently trapped in the Iron Blood Demon Palace. I hope you can come to our aid urgently. Although we have enmity, there are not only our small team here, but also other teams from around the world. For their lives, I beg you. I'll exchange anything for it. Su Bai, who was admiring the Kirov bombers, laughed. So it's Captain Zheng. Saving people is no big deal. We're all fighting monsters anyway. But you did say you wanted to kill me. How could I possibly save my enemy? I take back what I said and apologize. Otherwise, I'll kneel and bow to you. No need. Let us each take our own path, Su Bai said and directly hung up. This caused all the team members to explode in anger. It was all because Zheng Ye had spoken harshly to Su Bai before the battle, causing the latter to completely disregard them. This captain of the Zhongzhou team really, always making enemies for no reason. Yeah, all the members of this batch of demon teams have changed faces. They're all newcomers, and none of them have acted out of line. Plus, they even saved the Yenzhou team. Zheng Ye, this is all your fault. Yes, your personal grudges have brought us trouble. I want to withdraw from the Divine Alliance. I want to withdraw too. Zheng Ye, you're inhuman. You're truly a beast. If I become a vengeful spirit, I will haunt you. Chapter 253, Building Type Creatures Attack. Urban Group, Su Bai's paratroopers. Faced with the accusations of everyone, Zheng Ye had no response. He had never felt such a sense of powerlessness. Once upon a time, the Zhongzhou team was unstoppable, capable of completing any task on the battlefield of 10,000 worlds. Even when the main god transported them to the battlefield, with his strength, he could completely open his eyes and feel the ethereal sensation of teleportation. This kind of power could be described as super invincible. I never expected to end up in such a situation today. Jean Lan and Shao Kong. Why don't you two just bear with it and accompany Lung Hanyue? Before Zheng Ye could finish speaking, two jade hands came at him from both sides. With two crisp slaps, the two women glared at the captain. Captain, I really misjudged your character. I can't believe you are still the same captain as before. Zheng Ye was at a loss for words. There was no way out. He was responsible not only for the Zhongzhou team, but also for the lives of everyone in the team. Plus, there was the mission of resisting the invasion of various factions. All these squad members were precious seeds, and they could not fall here. Spare me. The underwater figure with bloodied hands finally couldn't hold on any longer. It was battered by Su Bai's deep sea bomb. However, Su Bai showed no intention of stopping. Instead, He demanded an increase in dosage. Stop hitting. Let me tell you a secret. Can that buy me a way out? Upon hearing this, Subai couldn't hold back any longer. Others were trading treasures for their lives, and here he was trying to trade a single sentence. Are you kidding me? Speak. You have no choice. Fine, just don't throw any more bombs. I'm hiding everywhere and can't speak coherently. All right. Subai ordered Kirill to stop the bombing to prevent the other side from seizing the opportunity to escape from the water. On the surface, Subai deployed 200 battleships. These were much more powerful than the previous cruisers. If the opponent tried to play tricks, they would experience the might of the triple 400mm cannons. These warships were modified based on a famous battleship designed to dominate the Pacific. The caliber decided everything. As long as they were hit, even an aircraft carrier capable of withstanding a nuclear bomb would sink. I've stopped the bombing. You have 3 seconds. Hurry up and tell me. All right. I'm talking. Your companions are now trapped in the Iron Blood Demon Palace. Hurry and rescue them. Continue the bombing. This information had already been conveyed to him by that fierce woman from the Zhongzhou team earlier. It wasn't a secret at all. Kirill continued the bombing. Huge waves erupted on the water's surface again. Stop. I haven't finished speaking. Actually, to save them, there's a secret passage leading directly to the 18th level of the Iron Blood, once you get there. Before he could finish, a voice rang out from another direction, amidst the billowing smoke. Insect, if you dare to reveal the secrets of the Iron Blood Demon Palace, you will die. Boom. Countless boulders flew towards Subai's floating island. Subai quickly activated the Iron Curtain defense. These stones were blazing like meteors. If hit, it would be like a comet striking the earth. The underwater scissorhand blood beast was taken aback, cursing his bad luck. Just a second before reinforcements arrived, he had let out the news. If this got reported back, he would definitely be doomed. What shocked him even more was that the incoming troops were the upper echelon of the architectural race, the Skyscraper City Group. The Skyscraper City Group was a race composed of concrete, soil, and steel. They underwent self-transformation to form communities and plunder surrounding natural resources. In the universe, mainly on solid planets, these constructions could survive, continuously stripping the planets of all their resources to expand their development. Although somewhat abstract, this was the strength of such life forms. Subai was also amazed. Having previously encountered silicon-based life forms had already shifted his worldview. He never expected there would be moving buildings in the world. The towering structures were constructed similarly to those in Manhattan, especially the 2 moving twin skyscrapers in front of him, pure white, reminiscent of the Soviet Union's level in Command Conquer, Red Alert 2. However, this situation was indeed affecting his torture of the scissorhand blood beast, restraining the surface vessels while keeping an eye on that underwater creature. Subai commanded the floating island to ascend further, dodging the meteor-like rain of fire being hurled at them. All artillery, aim at the enemy. Simultaneously, the weapons on the floating island also targeted the adversary and retaliated. But what surprised Subai was that these buildings could release massive concrete and steel walls to block the bombardment. Although their attacks could penetrate the concrete walls, the enemy's repair speed was impressively quick. It could be said that they utilized this abstract force for defense. Subai smiled. What an interesting race. Playing with abstraction, huh? Temporal Legion, freeze this entire architectural group and relocate them. The Temporal Legion instantly teleported into the enemy city. However, there were simply too many buildings, and upon entry, it felt like a cow sinking into the sea. Foolish. In the city, a statue of David stood atop a tall building. With a wave of his hand, exquisite human-shaped sculptures appeared on the ground. These sculptures began to attack incessantly, freezing the Temporal Legion. Subai furrowed his brow. There were still too few troops. Send in the paratroopers. This time, taking advantage of the artillery fire's pause, several transport planes flew over, dropping groups of mobilized soldiers, regular troops, and new recruits. As soon as these soldiers landed, the rapid deployment began in those 2 twin towers, establishing a defensive position. Once inside the buildings, the firepower noticeably intensified. The stone statues were shattered into pieces. Subai felt a surge of joy. It seemed that although this race was abstract, it was not as effective as my Red Alert soldiers entering buildings. Keep going. Another 2 waves of paratroopers were deployed. The 2 office buildings were captured. On the map, 2 red markers appeared, becoming Subai's strongholds. Subsequently, Subai initiated another wave of trans-dimensional teleportation, transporting the combat bunkers of the Allied forces into the fray. In an instant, Subai seized control of 10 buildings, the tallest ones in the local city center, all fully occupied. The buildings supported each other, forming a defensive angle. With concentrated firepower, the artistic statues defending the area fell in droves. Damn it! How dare they send human parasites into our beautiful city? David felt disgusted. As if he had swallowed a fly. Such a beautiful city, pristine and free from any litter. Chapter 254. Soldiers enter the buildings, day and night, without light. Now, however, It was filled with the scent of war and smoke. Moreover, with these soldiers around, the city had become even dirtier. During the brief intervals of battle, many soldiers awakened ancestral memories and began to loot the fallen, beautiful sculptures. Oh, Bill, look over there, a Venus with a broken arm. It's so beautiful. My goodness. I'll take them to my grandfather's house. Our nobility will continue to shine. And that one, the thinker with a large body. If it could be placed in the British Museum, it would definitely rival the exquisite treasures of the old summer palace. These soldiers treated the damaged sculptures with care, understanding the value of art. They appreciated beauty more than the new recruits and soldiers of the Soviet army. More paratroopers were deployed. Seeing that the previous attacks had indeed been effective, Subai launched several more waves of scattered troops. These waves landed in a very spacious building that resembled an art gallery or a museum. Regardless, it looked very sturdy, making it a suitable fortress for the soldiers to occupy. The peacekeeping troops repelled a wave of enemy attacks. The squad leader quickly called for the team members outside who were selecting sculptures. Stop picking. Come and look in here. Hurry over. What was the leader looking at? It affected our collection of artworks. The leader grimaced, looking at this group of useless individuals with disappointment. What is this? Compared to the statues in this building, what you have picked up is just scrap metal. Upon hearing this, everyone was momentarily stunned. Could there be more priceless artworks than these? The troops were divided into two parts. One group of soldiers stayed behind to continue guarding the building's safety, while the other group followed the captain to open a door. Inside, there were countless beautiful goddess statues and winged cherubs. The moment these statues saw the peacekeeping soldiers, they trembled as if faced with savages. However, this scene reflected in the soldiers' eyes was one of ecstatic joy. Such beautiful goddess statues. Even if Michelangelo were revived, he would likely be unable to carve such masterpieces. It was truly breathtaking. Don't come over. Stay back. One statue of the Virgin Mary stepped forward with outstretched arms, protecting the goddess statues and cherubs behind her. The soldiers chuckled, and one of them spoke up. Art is eternal, brothers. Grab it. Without further ado, they began to smash the statues with their entrenching tools, breaking off excess arms and legs, leaving only the torsos and heads. Most of these peacekeeping soldiers came from noble families in the European region, with generations of noble lineage. Each household had countless art collections, almost all looted from overseas conquests, especially the bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals, which made them particularly proud. Faced with such exquisite goddess artworks, their ancestral barbaric blood was awakened once again. These Europeans, who outwardly claimed to be civilized, still carried within them a sense of arrogant savagery, disdain, and foolishness, which they proudly referred to as chivalry. At this moment, this spirit erupted once more. The statues of women and children hiding in the museum from the war were smashed and looted by them. Not a single one remained intact. They reduced the statues to a size that could be taken away for their collection. Some statues, too exquisite to carry, were smashed to pieces. They justified this by saying that if such beautiful treasures were to be revealed to the world, if they could not possess them, it would be better to destroy them. This way, their own statues would seem even more valuable in comparison. After learning of this incident, David, the ruler of the city, was furious. Damn it! These despicable barbarians have actually attacked women and children. Among all the races, these statues had never suffered such humiliation before. For the first time, they felt the malice of humanity. One could only say that humanity is undoubtedly a terrifying race. As more paratroopers descended, the entire urban area became heavily fortified. The ordinary statues tasked with patrolling for defense were utterly ineffective. The reason was simple. They were subjected to exclusionary attacks. Such attacks resembled a specific kind of assault. To elaborate, once the soldiers entered a building, the statues dispatched by David could no longer re-enter to regain control. They could only destroy the building from the outside, causing the soldiers inside to retreat in defeat. Moreover, the buildings were integral parts of the urban landscape. Fighting one's own people resulted in a lose-lose situation. They were all kin, after all, and it was difficult to inflict fatal blows on one another. Consequently, the soldiers inside repeatedly gained the upper hand. It could be said that the buildings in the urban area had become hostages of the most ordinary soldiers under Subai's command. David struck the temple pillar beside him. The volcanic rock column instantly created a deep pit. He told his subordinates that although those buildings were compatriots, once occupied by humans, they became mere shells, lifeless entities. No compassion. Full-scale assault. At that moment, David realized he had to make a resolute decision to sever ties decisively. Only then could he eliminate the disaster of Subai's soldiers entering the buildings. Meanwhile, Subai was pleased. He hadn't expected to find rules he could manipulate on his side. No wonder Zhao Haoyan could master the power of rules. Everything in the world must adhere to certain regulations. With that in mind, Subai issued new orders, instructing the soldiers to disperse. Each soldier was to occupy a building. Even single-occupancy restrooms were not to be overlooked. Upon receiving the new command, the peacekeeping forces, the mobilized troops, Yuri's recruits, and the Rising Sun warriors all sprang into action. They dove into any building they encountered, whether it was a skyscraper, a residential house, a bubble tea shop, or a public restroom. Any building that could be entered had to be occupied. Soon, satellite maps showed that all 50 buildings in the enemy urban area had been completely seized. Now, it seemed the opponents had something to contend with. Indeed, Subai had issued this order, leading to a noticeable decrease in casualties from demolishing buildings. However, chaos reigned everywhere, with machine gun barrels mounted on the windows of every house, sweeping fire onto the ground. Initially, it was thought that sacrificing a small portion of the building's lives could save the majority. Yet, the despicable humans treated the entire urban complex as hostages. Now, with so many buildings to demolish, many statues found it impossible to act. Upon receiving this news, David could no longer sit still. He flicked his stone cloak behind him, walking on the void, with each step forward supported by a cloud of cement beneath, ensuring he wouldn't fall from the sky. Chapter 255. Suddenly, internal strife broke out, and Subai was overjoyed. David arrived above the city, gesturing with his hands, aiming at a skyscraper. In an instant, dust swirled, and the building collapsed into rubble. Inside, a peacekeeping soldier holding a hammer to strike at a statue was momentarily stunned as a massive stone fell from the sky, instantly reducing him to nothing but pulp. In this city, David was omnipotent. He could harness his entire strength to condense a massive stone to attack enemies, or casually sweep away the concrete jungle. He was like a god in this place. David bit his lip, feeling frustrated. Despite the skyscraper being densely packed, there was only one enemy hiding within. Destroying such a massive building and only eliminating one person was deeply painful. Nonetheless, he pressed on. He approached the twin towers, and with a flick of his cloak, the two buildings vanished into thin air. Inside, only two mobilized soldiers stood, staring blankly at the sky. At this moment, David felt a surge of impatience. Were these two buildings not the enemy's stronghold? How could there only be two guards left? Where had the main force gone? This time, he arrived in a certain area, instantly enveloped in cement. He heard the cracking sound of the material around him. Suddenly, the cement that had encased him dissipated into nothingness, and at the same time, the houses on the ground vanished as well. This time, he directly destroyed over 50 buildings. However, only a little over 50 people emerged from the ruins. Seeing all this, Subai couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow. The houses could be rebuilt, but those were over 50 high-quality talents. Without them, how could he showcase his own superiority? With a thunderous pressure, 50 giant stones fell from the sky, crushing the 50-plus peacekeeping soldiers. But just then, a dramatic scene unfolded. As David walked through the sky, another statue of a goddess stood in his way. Athena, are you trying to stop me? Naturally, if you continue this destruction, the entire city will be ruined. Isn't that better than being completely occupied by humans? What meaning is there in living like a mindless zombie? But so what? The speed of construction far outpaces that of destruction, and war is no different. I will not allow you to continue destroying the city. David's face was filled with rage. Then how do we deal with the enemy? Surrender? Let them withdraw? We leave this battlefield of worlds. How could that be possible? Join the battlefield of all realms and invade humanity. This is the treaty we have reached with the Dark Emperor. It must be upheld. But we are all dead. How can civilization be passed on? Give up? Never. The council has ordered me to stop you today. Athena will not back down either. King David snorted coldly. Suddenly, a stone slingshot formed in his hand. Facing Athena, he declared, "Those who dare block my path shall die." At the same time, Athena, now at the same level, manifested a shining golden bronze armor. A bronze spear appeared in her hand as she took a combat stance. "Today, I will kill you to mark my victory." With that, King David lightly waved his arm, and the dust in the air instantly coalesced into several sharp arrows shot towards Athena. Athena swiftly moved, spinning her bronze spear to easily deflect the arrows. "I must stop you today." She was not to be outdone, using her spear as a guide. She directed the surrounding air to form sharp blades of wind, attacking King David. Seeing this, King David's stone-like skin glimmered with a faint layer of cement, neutralizing each wind blade. In the distance, Subai blinked, rubbing his eyes in disbelief. The enemy was actually having a civil conflict. This was interesting. He issued new orders. The entire army was to enter a defensive state, without the need to occupy new buildings, and to follow the instructions given. He issued a warning command, keeping his eyes fixed on the distance, continuing to observe the developments. He asked for a cup of cola and popcorn from a nearby companion. The battle escalated. King David's statue roared, and his stone slingshot transformed into countless streams of light, turning into a rain of stones. Each stone contained destructive power, tearing the space apart. Athena, seeing this, smirked coldly, gripping her spear tightly. Divine power surged within her, The spear tip shone brightly and transformed into a thunder dragon, roaring towards the rain of stones. The two collided violently in the air, erupting in dazzling light and deafening noise. At this moment, Athena darted like lightning through the stone rain, her spear creating countless images, each striking precisely at the vital points of King David's statue. The statue realized the fatal nature of this attack and continued to use cement manipulation, causing the dust in the air to coalesce into a floating skyscraper, blocking the bronze spear. However, the divine power within the spear was too strong. With a loud bang, the skyscraper was shattered, but the spear lost its accuracy and deviated from its original target. At this critical moment, Athena flashed and appeared behind the statue of King David. She gripped her spear tightly, exerting all her strength to thrust it forcefully into the back of the statue. With a violent tremor and an explosion of light, the statue of King David finally could not withstand it and collapsed with a thunderous crash, turning into a pile of rubble scattered across the sky. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Subai applauded. He never expected to witness such a high-quality battle firsthand. To be honest, he himself could not reach this level of combat, and his units would likely be unable to compete with the opponent. But so what? His paratroopers were like parasites. As long as his troops entered the room, the enemy could only slowly cut their losses. Athena quickly exerted her divine power. The copper and iron elements from the buildings floated in the air like golden powder, repairing the body that had just been damaged by King David. Then, she immediately harnessed the magnetism of the metal and directed it towards Subai's floating island. Along the way, several combat aircraft attempted to intercept her, but they were all blocked by her one by one, landing on Subai's deck. Human, I hope you can withdraw your troops, she said. Subai smiled, weapon in hand. You want me to withdraw? Are you pointing a gun at my head to teach me what to do? The statue of Athena also realized her previous disrespect and quickly retracted her armor and spear into her body, becoming part of the bronze statue. We won't achieve anything by continuing this fight. However, I have already taken 60 of your city area. If you want to fight to the death, I suggest you reconsider. To be honest, the level of combat just now was indeed formidable, but Subai was not to be underestimated. Even if all his troops could not defeat this statue, he still possessed Frostmourne, the Frost Sword. As long as he summoned it, everything would be frozen. He would remain unaffected, while the bronze statue, made of metal, would easily break under the cold. He was confident he could defeat Athena. Even if he could not defeat her, he had so many buildings as backup. The amount of health he had was not something she could deplete. If you withdraw your troops, we will retreat immediately. Your buildings have already failed under my human army and have no bargaining power left. If I withdraw, what do I gain? Athena asked. I can help you open the Demon Palace tunnel so you can retrieve your companions. After all, many are trapped in the Iron Blood Demon Palace. Athena believed Subai would certainly agree to this. However, Subai's response took her by surprise. Not interested. Their lives have nothing to do with me. Try again. Athena's mind was momentarily at a loss. As a building unit among the myriad of races, from beginning to end, I have always believed that all success is built from a mixture of reinforced concrete, metal, and gravel. Each element is indispensable. This individual before me seems indifferent to the safety of their teammates. Could it be that they are trying to extract more benefits for themselves? With this thought, Athena, the wise woman, chuckled softly. Since those humans have nothing to do with you, I have said too much. She lifted her gaze again to inspect the structure of this floating island. Now that I am here, shouldn't you show me some hospitality and give me a tour? Fine. Athena sneered inwardly. Let us engage in some idle chatter and see who gets anxious first. I don't believe you don't care about your teammates. Acting all high and mighty here, trying to maintain your composure. The two entered the armory. The Iron Wanderer and the Ghost King mech stood tall in the hangar, while a group of engineers busily carried out maintenance. The pilots were repeatedly adjusting the data, looking quite occupied. Upon seeing this scene, Athena couldn't help but cover her mouth, her bronze cheeks flushed with heat, leaving Subai looking confused. You, a bronze statue, are blushing? What is wrong with you? Athena pointed at the Ghost King mech, her embarrassment palpable. There are actually people inside that metal. This goes beyond the taboo, doesn't it? Little one, do you have a lot of questions? At that moment, Subai was indeed wondering what this bronze statue was talking about, completely at a loss. Jira, how is the debugging of your Freedom Unit going? A blue-haired young engineer asked his teammate. The one named Jira gently stroked his beloved machine and replied, This unit is perfect. I've achieved 100% synchronization with it. How about you, Aslan? My Justice Unit, the Iron Wanderer, has also been debugged and is now in perfect sync with my intentions. Athena felt a bit dizzy hearing such ambiguous words. She stole a glance at Subai, thinking to herself, this guy deliberately brought me to such a place. Could it be that he has feelings for me? On Subai's side, he felt that he had seen enough of this bronze statue's tour. It would be a waste of time not to extract some benefits from this race. So, he changed the topic, leading Athena to the command room. Just the two of them, a person and a statue, alone in a room. Subai spoke first, so, please tell me, what benefits can you offer me to withdraw my troops? Athena hesitated for a few seconds. It seemed that it was time for the other party to test her. At that moment, the display screen lit up. The previously calm lake's surface began to stir. It seemed that the scissor hands, which had been hiding beneath the water, could no longer contain itself and was about to emerge. Subai's brow furrowed tightly. Finally, it seems to be coming out. If it stays underwater any longer, it might suffocate. On the display screen, the scissor-hand blood beast leaps out of the water, continuously flapping its wings. The purple toxic powder turns the entire water area into a shade of purple, and countless aquatic creatures are instantly corrupted by the toxins. With a wave of Subai's hand, the battleships of the shogunate are ordered to fire all missiles at once. Athena also raised her head to look at the display screen. The higher-ups of the insect race realized that rescue was futile. They had to break through on their own. Just moments ago, after touring Subai's hangar, Athena had a clear understanding of his combat power, ignoring those parasitic humans who recklessly occupied their own city clusters. The robot pilots should possess considerable fighting ability. Defeating the scissor-hand blood beast should be achievable. However, the blood beast would likely still manage to escape. As Subai gave the command, the entire fleet of shogunate battleships seemed to be activated by an invisible force. The roar of artillery was deafening, and the shells soared through the sky like the wrath of a thunder god, striking the blood beast's hard shell with devastating force. Each explosion was accompanied by a thunderous echo, scattering the sea surface into fragments and sending splashes flying, as if even the sky was trembling. Meanwhile, the Naginata-class cruisers lit up their torpedo launchers. Silver streaks of lightning broke through the water's surface, targeting the blood beast's vital points. These torpedoes left long trails in the water, precisely slicing through the massive body of the blood beast like a scythe of death. The sounds of explosions echoed continuously, intertwining fire and water. The blood beast roared in pain and fury, its massive scissor hands swinging wildly, trying to tear apart the surrounding enemies. Yet, the joint assault of the shogunate battleships and Naginata cruisers was as solid as a fortress, flawless and impenetrable. Under the relentless bombardment of shells and torpedoes, cracks began to appear on the blood beast's enormous body, with purple blood gushing out like a fountain, staining the surrounding sea. Athena was stunned by the scene before her. The firepower was simply overwhelming. If it weren't for her race's city clusters being able to rapidly and infinitely defend with concrete and steel, they likely wouldn't withstand this barrage of attacks. Thinking of this, she genuinely felt that stopping David's reckless actions was the right choice. She believed that the elders of the city clusters would support her. With this in mind, Athena lowered her goddess-like head once more. Continue. Fire. This creature is like an old turtle. This time, we must eliminate it. From their first encounter until now, Subai had already wasted too much time on this creature. This time, without fail, Subai had to annihilate the enemy. The giant beast suddenly roared, "Humans, do not kill me. I am willing to dig a tunnel back to the Iron Blood Demon Palace to rescue your companions. Absolutely. I will save them all, not leaving a single one behind." This condition was exactly the same as the one proposed by Athena earlier, but with an additional offer to take the lead in the rescue. Athena frowned slightly. If that were the case, wouldn't it put her side at a disadvantage? So she added, "We can also take the lead and open the entrance to the underground palace for you." Subai merely nodded silently and made a throat-cutting gesture. Once again, the fleet on the sea launched a full barrage. The scissor-hand blood beast was instantly obliterated. "I'm sorry, but I have no interest in rescuing anyone." Athena was shocked. This man genuinely seemed uninterested in the rescue. It wasn't an act, nor was it a reaction to the extreme pressure from her side. This made things quite complicated. She patted her bronze-colored chest to steady her breathing and focused on how to break the deadlock. Meanwhile, Subai's silence unconsciously placed even greater pressure on Athena. Congratulations to the Demon Team S. Subai for successfully eliminating the higher-up of the insect race and acquiring the ability of the scissor-hand blood beast, Cocoon Rebirth. Note, when biological units die, they will transform into a pupa and then into a butterfly, being reborn and restoring 100 of their health. Additionally, their attack power will increase by 200 for 10 minutes. Subai couldn't help but take a deep breath. Once again, this was impressive. Didn't this mean that his units had gained an extra life? No, some units probably had gained 2 extra lives. After dying once, they would produce an anti-demon egg to summon anti-demon warriors to fight. At the same time, biological units would resurrect, then die again, continuing to lay eggs, producing another anti-demon. Heavens! In addition to doubling their lives and combat power, these biological units would likely experience doubled pain. For instance, the pain of being killed and the pain of giving birth twice. Thinking about this, Subai looked down at his abdomen and couldn't help but shudder. The expression on his face was completely reflected in Athena's eyes. Looking down at her own abdomen, She sighed deeply. It's time to showcase the compassion between humans and metal. How about this? I am willing to use the power of our urban construction clan to enhance the resistance of your mechanical kind. First, Athena demonstrated her own resistance to impacts. Subai tried it as well, and it was indeed incredibly hard. If it weren't for his tough skin, he might have been injured too. 5 hours later, Athena stood at the peak of Subai's floating island, chanting incantations. The earth elements now spread like powder, swiftly attaching themselves to Subai's various armored tanks. Subai checked the stats of a certain tank and was astonished. Its defense had increased by 500. It was likely due to the metals summoned by Athena, which made it so sturdy. Subai kept his promise and had all the soldiers in the house come out. He wasn't afraid of any tricks from the opponent, just in case there were hidden enemies in the urban warfare fog area, ambushing his mobilized soldiers. However, he still had the resurrection ability to rely on. Plus, with the egg laying, he believed he could retreat back to the building and hold out for reinforcements. However, such an event did not occur. There were no ambushes. Subai waved his hand, and the paratroopers returned. Athena took her leave and said as she departed, "We will return to our world and will no longer be enemies with humans. Humans inherently restrain us. This is the key to the Iron Blood Demon Palace, which can take you directly to the 15th underground level. You must save your friends, break through the encirclement, and defeat the Demon Lord." Subai was unconcerned but still accepted the key. Next, Subai sat on the floating island and returned to the edge of the 10,000 Realms Great Wall. At this moment, the place was in ruins. The buildings previously constructed by the small squad had long been destroyed due to lack of defense. Han Li's face was covered in black soot, resembling a calico cat. Upon seeing Subai, her eyes immediately filled with tears, wanting to embrace him warmly. However, Subai pushed her away and simply said, "You're too dirty. Let's talk after you shower." Shortly after, Tanya approached to report. They had pushed back the enemies on the left flank by 50 kilometers. The right flank enemies were also repelled, pushed back by 65 kilometers. Now, both sides were in a standoff 60 kilometers apart. As for the center, that was the direction from which Subai returned. He pushed forward from the rear, eliminating 200,000 enemies in the center. Additionally, Sato Takara had also returned from the front line for defensive deployment. It could be said that the 10,000 Realms Great Wall could not be left unguarded, otherwise. If more enemies surged in, the squad members could collectively be wiped out by the main deity, and that would not be just Subai's problem. With this in mind, Subai opened the points leaderboard. 1 Demon Team rank 1 points. 122,5548. 2 Central Region Team rank 2 points. 658,958. 3 Eastern Continent Team rank 3 points. 99,854. 4 Western League Team rank 4 points. 65,848. Currently, the team I am in is still in first place. However, the points Haven T increased much. The reason is that Han Li is defending, continuously consuming points to build defensive facilities. Meanwhile, other teams have left the edge of the Great Wall and can't continue to build their bases, which has caused their points to drop. Now, Subai has decided to use his 1,000,000 points to fully arm this Great Wall of all realms and turn it into an impregnable defense line. Completely. With the momentum of overwhelming force, as steady as Mount Tai. He opened the construction page, and various facilities available for construction appeared before Subai's eyes. War Academy, cost, 500 points. Produces, Armored Infantry X10 per minute. Stable, cost, 800 points. Produces, Heavy Knights X10 per minute. Execution Ground, cost, 1,000 points. Produces, Executioners X15 per minute. Subai frowned. What the hell is this? They seem quite weak. No wonder it was often said in school that the attributes of the human soldiers were poor and useless. It's true. He remembered that when he was in the Outer Realms, the points there could be used to build wonders. Now, there is indeed still this option. But with the increasing intensity of the battlefield and the rising attributes of enemies, the basic attributes added by wonders are basically of little use. This time, there was an additional option on the last page of construction, which is heroic spirit summoning. Summoning historical strong figures to lead troops against external invasions. Moreover, the cost of construction is extremely high. Each main god team can only establish a local heroic spirit summoning. As a member of the demon team, Subai can summon villainous heroic spirits from around the world to fight. This doesn't sound very good. Furthermore, Subai feels like a great benefactor. Summoning villains might indeed affect his reputation. Perhaps in times of crisis, not only heroes can protect the homeland, villains can also become an asset. Chapter 258, Mind's End. The balance returns moreover. Heroic spirit summoning. Random summon. Each summon will randomly obtain a villainous general or lord, costing 10,000 points. The summoned heroic spirits have varying strengths and carry different numbers of troops. It seems this is indeed a purely random summon of villains. Consuming 000 points summons once. It shouldn't be too weak, right? Subai clicked to try summoning once. Under the Great Wall, a pair of ancient armored hands emerged from the endless dark abyss. It clawed at the gate of the abyss and slowly walked out. A burst of purple light illuminated the scene. White Qi, villain, executed 400,000 of Zhao's troops. Strength, 25,000. Agility, 15,000. Health, 3,000. Carrying troops, 100,000. Troop type, Qin Fierce General. Subai gasped in shock. He really summoned a villain. The first one was the well-known White Qi. He was hailed as a god of war in later generations, but due to his execution of 400,000 troops from Zhao, some also referred to him as a butcher. However, his military achievements helped the Qin state unify the realm and establish the first great unified empire. The debates of right and wrong, success and failure, are ultimately fleeting. Regardless, he left a significant mark in history. What shocked Subai even more was that previously, he had entered a dungeon related to a certain country and had seen the records of a challenge against a deity from that land displayed by a monk. Unfortunately, that was just a figure from thousands of years ago. He never expected to witness this villain today. What a sight. 100,000 Qin Fierce Generals formed a block-like formation. Their military demeanor was orderly, and their morale was high. Subai clicked on one of the Qin Fierce Generals to check its attributes. Qin Fierce General, Strength, 1. 300, Agility, 800, Defense, 2. 500, Health, 600, 000. Skill, Terracotta Warrior. Skill note, Body Petrification, immune to 2,000 points of damage, 600, 000 health. Subai found it hard to believe. This was even more than the mobilized troops he had. It seemed that the ancient people of this region were not just empty names. Looking at it now, White Qi, executing 400,000 from Zhao was indeed not just for show. Subai continued to click for more summons. A burst of purple light accompanied by creaking sounds emerged as the gate of the abyss revealed a series of equally thick dreadlocks. A creature wearing a strange metallic mask stepped out from within. Iron Blood Warrior, villain, hunting powerful beings in the universe for fun. Bloodthirsty by nature. Strength, 60,000. Agility, 80,000. Defense, 30,000. Health, 550,000. Troop capacity, 200. Troop type, Iron Blood Elder. Looking at the Iron Blood Warrior, who wielded high-tech weapons and carried a 3-point laser targeting cannon, Subai was once again shocked. This time, he summoned the Iron Blood Warrior who had previously challenged the top dungeon of a certain nation. Perhaps this was fate. Although the Iron Blood Warrior brought only a few troops this time. What surprised Subai was that the attributes of the Iron Blood Elder were actually much higher than those of the Iron Blood Warrior, making them elite among elites. Furthermore, they had 4 skills, 2 for close combat and 2 for ranged attacks, all of which were quite powerful. Incredible. Let us keep summoning. Jack the Ripper, villain, famous serial killer from London. Known as the Ripper of the Fog City. Strength, 1,200. Agility, 2,100. Defense, 200. Health, 5,000. Troop capacity, 5. Troop type, heavy criminal. The last summoned spirit was too weak. It seems that random draws can be hit or miss. Not every summon will yield exceptional results. Subai was not discouraged. This time, he clicked 10 times in a row for a 10-fold summon. 6th Demon King Nobunaga, Tian Bo Guang, Attila, Warden of the London Black Prison. This 10-fold summon yielded. Aside from the Whip of God, a cavalry unit under Attila with decent attributes. The rest were just average. However, combined, they increased Subai's troop strength by 500. 000. Let us go again. Jiang Xiaoyu, Dong Zhua, Judas, Jephthah. Wow, spending 100,000 points yielded nothing but trash. The strongest was Judas, who betrayed Jesus. Although his attributes were mediocre, he did have a passive skill that granted a bag of gold, which was still decent. He gained 1 gold resource point for each enemy killed. It seems that standing in this position has exhausted all the good fortune. I need to change my location for summoning. At this moment, Yuri X came to report. Dear Commander, the group of unruly criminals has already been instilled with the right mindset. Where should we deploy them? Subai thought for a moment and realized. Yuri X has a strong telepathic ability. Why not have him help find a good spot for summoning? Based on your intuition, which place along the vast Great Wall is the luckiest? Yuri X chuckled coldly. Dear Commander, luck and misfortune are merely perceptions shaped by the mind. This perception can be crafted through the spirit. So, would you like me to weave a sense of luck for you as well? Subai raised an eyebrow. He had previously tried, but Yuri's clones, including Yuri X, could not exert mind control over him. Thus, Subai felt at ease having Yuri X by his side, unafraid of rebellion. After pondering for a moment, he said, Then, why don't you try to help me weave some luck? Yuri X elegantly nodded, lightly tapping his temple with his index finger. I sense a door. You want to open it. But you're afraid that the one who enters may not be someone you like. Subai gasped. This guy was too good at reading minds. Although he couldn't use mind control on himself, he had just ordered him to explore his own mind, which was quite close to his intention. However, Subai still asked, what if you help me open it? Sorry, Commander, I cannot reach that. I still wish for you to meet the people you desire. Subai nodded silently. It seemed there was no help to be had. Thank you for your kind words. Subai decided to draw a single card. Libra, Evil 1, Yuri's beloved. From the mind's end, power, 96,000. Agility, 66,000. Defense, 45,000. Health, 7,000,000. Skills, amphibious movement, explosive dart, gravitational field, carrying troops, 5,000. Troop type, Libra clone. What the? Suddenly, Subai couldn't believe his eyes. He quickly rubbed them again and scrutinized the white-haired girl before him, floating midair. A super-powered individual, just like the white-haired one. Chapter 259, Orders and Conquest. The general goes to battle. Commander, where should I destroy? This little woman from the mines and seemed to have a rather bad temper. No wonder Yuri named her Libra, hoping to keep her heart peaceful. It appeared that Yuri hadn't taught her how to maintain such peace. As the saying goes, if the child is not taught, it is the parent's fault. Yuri, you take the lead in defense. I need to properly educate your daughter. How dare she not call me master in my presence? Yuri was sweating profusely, inexplicably being scolded. What had gone wrong? He had always respected the commander greatly. He could only furrow his brow in a somewhat aggrieved manner and bow his head in agreement. Little white cat, follow me to the command room. Why can't I go to the battlefield? Subai shot her a glare. Only then did the other party lower her head and follow Subai into a private room. Take off the outer garment. No. Slap. A loud slap resounded. The Libra had no choice but to comply, removing her coat to reveal a fitted vest underneath. Her face flushed, a bad premonition creeping in. However, her eyes were already closed, and she couldn't help but swallow hard, waiting for the anticipated event to unfold. Subai was quite satisfied. He casually tossed her a rag. This place is a bit dirty. I just had a competition with Athena, and there is some trash. Clean it up properly. If I come back and find even a speck of dust, you will receive a harsher lesson. Libra opened her eyes. I was all prepared. And you tell me to clean? What do you think? Libra, leave the command room. Subai arrived at the bridge, crossed his legs, and shifted his posture. He opened the satellite cloud map to check the current troop deployment situation. The Great Wall, currently Subai had 1.8 million troops stationed beneath it. Arranged in 3 routes, upper, middle, and lower. There were 83 fortified cities. Sato Takura was in charge of constructing defensive positions with points. There were 93 flame defense towers, 75 lightning defense towers, and 563 arrow towers. Meanwhile, on Subai's side, the nano-core of the Rising Sun Empire was continuously being deployed to the front lines. The 95th Wave Energy Tower had been set up. The defense had essentially been restored to its previous state. Now, as long as the troop strength was restored, the Great Wall of all realms would be as steady as Mount Tai. Previously, Subai had spent 300,000 points on a lottery. Now he had 700,000 left and could continue the lottery. Let's get started. First, Atendra, Weskier, Pirate, Powell, Adela Baskova, Wilson Jasonum. Another group of foreigners I've never heard of. I don't know how many evil deeds these people have committed to be classified as villains. Wait. In a fleeting glance, Subai's body jolted. Adela Baskova. Isn't she a character from Command Conquer? This woman is from the GLA faction and is indeed a thorough villain. What the heck? Is this a crossover? The battlefield of all realms truly lives up to its name. It can summon anything. Check Adela Baskova's attributes. Adela Baskova, villain, master of nitroglycerin explosions. Believes that only destruction can save everything. Power, 300. Agility, 600. Defense, 120. Skill, self-destruct for all units. Skill note, when the units under the commander's control die, they will unleash an explosion damage within a 500-meter radius. The explosion damage is 5 times the current unit's attack power. Number of troops, 800. Unit type, self-destruct trucks. This villain's attributes are not particularly strong. However, the passive ability she brings is quite impressive. When her units die, they can respawn and also lay eggs. Now, when they die, they can explode again. Who can withstand such a series of operations? It's simply outrageous. This person stays in the command center, no need to go to the front lines. As long as her passive ability is retained, everything is great. At this moment, the satellite map showed changes again. On the map, countless enemy forces surged forward, as if determined to capture the Great Wall of all realms. Subai smiled. The opponent truly did not know the danger they faced. Just then, Tanya walked in. Commander, the enemy requests communication. Subai returned to the office and connected. On the display screen, a humanoid tiger appeared. I am the Beast King, a higher being among the beasts. Foolish humans, I heard you defeated the higher being of the insect race. Don't think that bullying those weaklings will allow you to stand under this great wall. This time, you will face 11 higher beings from the myriad races. The Beast King. Haha, I wonder how you will respond. The opponent spoke boldly, seemingly aware that Subai had previously taken a long time to deal with the Scissorhand Blood Beast. This time, they sent 11 at once. Confident that Subai couldn't handle so many simultaneously. Hakimi, don't get too carried away. I love to soak wine with tiger whips and hope my beloved wears a tiger skin mini skirt. I wish that when I kill you later, you won't run. A tiger roar echoed. You don't know the danger. We'll meet on the battlefield. Indeed, the 11 higher beings split into 3 paths and charged forward. Subai waved his hand and began directing the large forces to prepare for defense. According to statistics, this time the enemy dispatched 10 million troops, while Subai's side had expanded its forces to only 2 million. The disparity in troop strength was 5-1, indicating a clear disadvantage. Faced with the fierce 3-pronged attack from the enemy, Tanya was somewhat anxious. Master, how should we respond to the attack from the myriad races? Subai kicked the scale that was still mopping the floor. The other party rubbed their little backside, looking like a resentful woman, yet not daring to say a word. Their little face turned red, with 2 tears welling up in the corners of their eyes. Now the battle was divided into 3 lanes. Han Li, Park Itian, and Sato Takashi formed the bottom lane, while Yu, Adisha, Yuriko, and the newcomer Scale acted as the mid-lane forwards. The top lane was defended by the villains of the realms. Subai would command from the center, overseeing the entire situation and strategizing. Subai understood that each of the 3 lanes must have strong defenses. Otherwise, a single misstep in one lane could lead to total defeat. Therefore, Subai had to remain at the main base, ready to send reinforcements at any moment. With Subai's orders given, all troops immediately sprang into action. Each unit quickly set up a layered defense, preparing to face the upcoming war on a massive scale. After all, the opponent was going all out this time, deploying 11 high-ranking individuals and possessing absolute numerical superiority. Suddenly, Black Hawk aircraft sliced through the night sky, launching an airstrike against the enemy. After several rounds of carpet bombing, they successfully eliminated tens of thousands of enemy troops. However, facing the vast and boundless enemy forces, these Black Hawks had no chance of returning and were all shot down by the opposing forces. The enemy was quite adept at aerial combat. Subai tapped his fingers on the table, and his subordinates remained silent, fully aware that victory in this battle was crucial. In a narrow encounter, only the brave would prevail. Forward was the only option. In the distance, the ground began to move like a tide or waterfall. Upon closer inspection, it was found that hundreds of thousands of Titan serpents were gathering together, continuously surging toward this location, forming a vast sea of snakes. Subai tapped the table again and stepped onto the great wall of all realms, sending forth the Frostmourne. In an instant, everything was frozen. The temperature within 100 miles dropped to 0 degrees, and snowflakes began to fall, creating an Arctic scene. Behind him, countless shadows passed over Subai's head as thousands of frost dragons emerged. Together with the frozen army, they created a solid ice wall in front. The snake swarm, struck by the icy assault, quickly began to stiffen, entering a state of hibernation. Although the damage from these freezing attacks was not high, combined with the relentless crushing from the Sioux army's destroyers, a long line of joint harvesting was formed on the battlefield. Park Itian rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Was this what they called fighting? This was simply harvesting lives. Beside him, Han Li quickly added, no, this isn't about reaping lives. It's more like mowing the grass with herbicide. Right now, it's just one-sided mowing. The Frozen Army, in conjunction with the Crusher and the Frost Dragon in the sky, worked together seamlessly. Not only did they block the enemy's attack, but they also pushed them back by 500 meters. This wave of attacks was instantaneous, eliminating over 20,000 Titan pythons. In the rear, the giant snakes were entwined with one another. Among the sea of snakes, a colossal king cobra raised its head, revealing itself as a giant specimen of its kind. It was one of the higher-ups of the snake tribe, leading an army of 200,000 at the forefront. From the beginning, it came under attack from Subai's Black Hawk aircraft. Snakes fear hawks, and especially a Black Hawk at that. The enemy's airstrike quickly decimated a significant portion of its forces. If it weren't for its venomous fangs capable of spitting corrosive acid, it would have faced total annihilation long ago. Now, with the enemy employing freezing tactics, it thought, damn it, are they intentionally countering me? Realizing the dire situation, the snake's tail emitted a rattling sound akin to a rattlesnake's warning. The sea of snakes quickly retreated, leaving the fire bulls and golden pigs of the Central Army to withstand the attack. Meanwhile, Subai's side had a clear advantage, and he had drawn his sword. He wouldn't stop until he eliminated this wave of enemies. The giant snake was surprisingly swift, like a dragon gliding along the ground, and it was positioned in the rear. Under normal circumstances, escaping Su Bai's grasp would be a piece of cake. However, they overlooked the fact that Su Bai possessed super weapons. Adela Baskova. Have the modified self-destruct trucks been completed? Su Bai asked the general beside him, who was in charge of commands and conquests. Respected commander, all self-destruct trucks have been upgraded. With damage increased tenfold, Adela Baskova replied, handing Su Bai the latest data file. Su Bai glanced at it, his eyes widening in surprise. Self-destruct truck, modified, explosion damage, 5,000,000. Radiation area, 10 kilometers, duration, 20 minutes. The damage was astonishing, 5 million. That was incredible. All right, gather those self-destruct trucks together. I want to give them a surprise. Understood. Meanwhile, Su Bai looked up at the monitor, keeping an eye on the escape route of the King Cobra, muttering to himself, "Don't rush, the surprise is coming soon." 1 minute later, hundreds of self-destruct trucks had assembled. Adela Baskova reports, all set. Good, Su Bai decided to use his time-space teleportation. A massive bubble enveloped the hundreds of newly modified self-destruct trucks. According to the calculations, the release was chosen to be 500 meters in front of the opponent. The self-destructing trucks successfully transmitted. With a command from Su Bai, these trucks almost simultaneously activated their self-destruction devices. Boom. It was as if the heavens and the earth were torn apart, creating massive rifts. Hundreds of dazzling fireballs soared into the sky and quickly transformed into enormous mushroom clouds, reminiscent of a nuclear explosion that shook the heart. The intense shockwaves spread wildly from the trucks, leveling everything in its path. The massive body of the King Cobra appeared so small and helpless in the face of this devastating force. Fear and despair flickered in its eyes as it writhed violently, trying to escape this deadly trap. However, it was all too late. The once mighty beast, the King Cobra, trembled and wailed amidst the continuous explosions. Its scales melted in the flames, its muscles turned to ashes under the high temperatures, and its enormous body was gradually covered by a thick layer of char. After the explosions, the giant snake was buried along with tens of thousands of smaller snakes. "Commander, we succeeded," Adela Baskova excitedly reported to Su Bai. "Congratulations to the demon teams, Su Bai, on successfully eliminating the serpent race's higher-ups and acquiring the King Cobra's abilities, granting immunity to toxins. Note: all members of the unit are immune to any toxins, even radiation damage. This is fantastic. It's like a timely rain from the heavens. Just when one is drowsy, someone offers a pillow. Now, having the radiation engineers deployed on-site will form a giant defensive line. Within this line, the soldiers can act without suffering friendly fire." With a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of radiation engineers set up patches of green death desert at the front line of the Great Wall of All Realms. Meanwhile, the villains recruited by Su Bai also began to stir. Bai Qi, he wielded a silver spear, riding forth with grace. Behind him, the fierce generals of the Qin dynasty surged like a tide. Bai Qi, unmatched in bravery, led his troops like a dragon entering the sea with an imposing presence. They were the first to charge into the sea of snakes, creating a bloody storm. The spears broke through waves, and the sabers gleamed. Every strike was a deterrent to the sea of snakes. Though the snake horde was numerous, they struggled to resist the fierce offensive of the Qin generals. Amidst the splattering blood, the snakes were slaughtered like ants by the Qin warriors. At this moment, a great change occurred in Su Bai's left flank. The colossal heavenly cattle charged forward, forming a formidable barrier. These giant cattle seemed to be under an invincible buff, easily deflecting cannonballs. Even the powerful apocalyptic tanks appeared ineffective before them. Through his keen observation, Su Bai discovered the reason. It turned out that after the front lines were broken, two enemy forces from the middle were encircling from both sides, preparing to attack Su Bai's flank. This change has made the situation more complex and tense. Chapter 261, The Happiest Thing for Dogs. Lord Tiger God, the Serpent King, has fallen. The Rat God, one of the 12 higher beings, came to report the latest battle situation. "It's fine. The Human-Snake Alliance has once again been greedy, trying to swallow an elephant. Don't split the forces. I will send the big dog to support." Understood. As a higher being among the 12 creatures, the Tiger God represents the supreme ruler of the planet. Sitting majestically on the Beast King's throne, his right hand unconsciously tightened around the throne's armrest. With a crack, the golden floral armrest was suddenly crushed. His sharp eyes fixed on the screen. "Su Bai, I don't believe it. You humans have only this insufficient number, while the Beast Clan and the 12 gods are fighting back." On the other side, on the battlefield, Parky Tian was sweating profusely. He had never seen such a grand spectacle before. If it weren't for Su Bai personally overseeing the situation, he would have probably been scared out of his wits by now. On the left side of the battlefield, groups of bull demon warriors spewed forth endless flames, unexpectedly breaking through Su Bai's sorrowful ice that had frozen everything. The temperatures neutralized each other, and the ground became muddy. This caused the speed of the turtle ships commanded by his subordinate hero Li Sunchen to slow down by at least 50. Turtle ship, fire from the side. Target that group of returning wild bulls. Boom. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed through the heavens and earth. A towering bull-headed warrior with a pair of gigantic horns on his head, engulfed in raging flames, stepped across the muddy ground like a bull ignited by fire. With astonishing speed, the bull demon warriors charged towards a wooden turtle ship and directly crashed through it. Bang! Accompanied by a muffled roar. The flames on the bull demon warrior burned even more fiercely. In the blink of an eye, the tightly packed turtle ship formation was reduced to ashes. Hold the line. Seeing this, the seasoned hero Li Sunchen unsheathed his sword without hesitation and shouted loudly. At the same time, on the remaining hundreds of large ships, the tops of the turtle shells opened up. Click, click, click. Heavy machine guns were set up on both sides of the ship. Now it's all up to you, heavenly soldiers. Tat 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 tat. Thousands of soldiers deployed on the turtle ships unleashed a torrent of bullets from their machine guns. The battlefield descended into chaos. In an instant, rows of bull-headed warriors were swept to the ground. The turtle ships lowered their ropes. The cavalry of the Vang Feng camp, moving heavily, operated their exoskeleton mechs and launched a countercharge against the enemy. Equipped with heavy machine guns and artillery, they surged towards the enemy like a tide of steel. Every fire suppression takes the life of a bull-headed warrior. Yet, those bull-headed warriors do not retreat, using their hard horns to strike the lines of the armored cavalry. But all of this is in vain, as the external skeletal mechs of the armored cavalry possess powerful defense and attack capabilities. In this fierce battle, both sides have paid a heavy price. The armored cavalry of the Van Wind faction successfully broke through the enemy's defenses, leaving the adversaries in disarray. The situation on the battlefield shifted dramatically. The sound of bugles echoed, and ranks were elevated by 3 stars. Soldiers upgraded to captains. Firepower intensified. Unstoppable. However, on the ground, the armored cavalry struggled to advance through the mud, pushing the enemy back a mile, only to hold their ground. Li Shunshun let out a sigh of relief. Having spent his life on the battlefield, he was familiar with naval combat. Ultimately, he was summoned as a hero. Indeed, the weapons and equipment of his homeland were nothing but trash. In warfare, one must rely on the strong and harness potential energy to achieve victory. It seems that this battle can be held. Meanwhile, at the rear of the battlefield, the commander and Xiao Liang were covered in dust, resembling 2 beggars. Supporting each other, they hurried towards the Great Wall of All Realms. Previously, after parting ways with Su Bai, they were not allowed to engage with the group of enemies, and could only seek out other races for excitement. Unfortunately, they encountered the Frenzy clan and were unable to contend with them. Feeling embarrassed to seek help from Su Bai, they could only retreat. The escape was chaotic. Soon, they returned to the base, looking like beggars, with one of Xiao Liang's shoes missing. Just hold on. We'll be back at the base soon. I definitely want to go out again. It's too dangerous out there. Too dangerous. At that moment, a mist enveloped them. Within the mist, 2 giant red eyes, like searchlights, flickered in and out of view. Following that, the figure of a colossal bull emerged from the fog, which was spewing mist from its nostrils. Look, wow, another gigantic beast. It's as big as Ultraman. This is bad. It seems we won't be able to go home unless we take this bull down. The ferocious bull charged forward, suppressing everything like a mountain. Dozens of turtle ships were quickly smashed to pieces, even with soldiers stationed on them. The colossal bull had extremely strong defense and was now following the tiger goddess orders to attack the left flank. Li Shunchen, frightened, hurried back to Park Etienne. Reporting to the commander in charge of defense, Park Etienne, my lord, quickly summoned the heavenly soldiers of the Ming dynasty to assist us. As Li Shunchen spoke, he surprisingly bowed deeply, facing Su Bai on the Wanjie Great Wall, as if Su Bai were the embodiment of a sovereign nation. Park Etienne's eyes widened in shock. What the hell? You're my hero, the one I nurtured. And now you're turning your heart toward Su Bai? Are you going to be his dog? Li Shunchen, are you disrespecting me? We are the Goryeo nation with a 1,000-year heritage. We must have dignity. We must have backbone. Oomph. To serve the Ming dynasty as a dog is the greatest honor of my life. Isn't that true for our lord? Li Shunchen remained calm and composed. His brows set with determination, his words strong and powerful. What you said seems very reasonable. Captain, hurry and send troops for support. If we don't get support soon, we're going to die. I'm your loyal dog. You can't leave me behind. In the distance, Su Bai noticed that the enemy formation had changed. The giant bulls that were originally attacking from the sides had now converged into one. Meanwhile, the right side was being fiercely attacked by a massive 3-headed hellhound accompanied by its wolf pups. Bai Qi fought valiantly, but suffered heavy losses. Fortunately, they had the support of advanced weaponry from the iron-blooded warriors, barely managing to hold their ground. However, it probably wouldn't last long. As expected, Park Etienne, the most useless of his subordinates, was the first to crack. Just as Su Bai was contemplating whether to send troops from the left and right simultaneously, he used his keen eyesight to spot two teammates hiding in the rear, Xiaoliang and the captain. With a smile, Su Bai immediately sent a communication to the two. You two, work together with your beloved Park Etienne to take down the giant bulls. What? Captain, this is too difficult, Xiaoliang exclaimed. Besides, Park Etienne is my dear. If something happens to him, I'll sacrifice your hearts to honor him in the afterlife. Chapter 262. Love is a green light. Xiaoliang. Damn it. The two exchanged a glance, their faces ashen. They regretted following Hao Gu back then, and now found themselves at the bottom of the ranks in the entire demon squad. Before they could find an excuse, a scout approached from behind to report, more troops are coming after us, at least 5 million strong. The captain took a deep breath and resolutely declared, let us fight. If we don't break through the enemies in front of us, we'll end up being sandwiched and wiped out. Xiaoliang nodded. Then let's use our rehearsed ultimate move. The captain furrowed his brows. That move? Are you talking about that one? No. Last time we weren't familiar enough, and there were many mistakes in the fusion. Several postures were wrong. Plus, this is a battle. There's no time to adjust our positions. Let us go. There's no time to hesitate. If we can't fuse here, this will be our grave. No more doubts. Xiaoliang's eyes were resolute as he raised a fist. The commander gritted his teeth, biting his lip, and made up his mind. He grasped Xiao Liang's wrist and nodded, saying, all right, if we don't succeed, we will perish together. Let's go for it. Xiao Liang stepped forward to the front line, standing on a high slope, gazing at the ever-changing battlefront, and shouted, Mirror people, come forth. In one breath, he summoned all the glass warriors, capable of transforming their appearance and attack forms, from his chest. On the other side, the commander also climbed up the dirt mound and shouted, Armored Tyrannosaurus. All of you come out. Roar. The Tyrannosaurus, once only seen by Yuri when transported to the Jurassic era, reappeared on the battlefield equipped with modern technological armor. The two exchanged determined glances. At this moment, they had reached the most critical point. Xiao Liang raised the hidden soldier ring, infusing it with energy, and closed his eyes to carefully think about the types of troops that Su Bai had once infused into the ring. Sweat began to bead on his forehead. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. Got it. Love shot out as a green light from the hidden soldier ring. Oh hee. A tall, muscular, gray-green giant appeared before them. This was the few frenzied beasts that Su Bai had gifted to Xiao Liang. These frenzied beasts had outstanding attributes and had been treasured by Xiao Liang since he received them. Therefore, the clever and eager to learn Xiao Liang devised a new tactic centered around Su Bai's frenzied beasts. At this moment, the frenzied beasts held a massive battle axe, an item obtained by Su Bai after defeating the previous superior and opening a treasure chest. Good. Let's proceed to the next step. Xiao Liang clapped his hands, and the hundreds of thousands of glass warriors before him began to simultaneously project their forms onto the frenzied beast. In less than a minute, the transparent glass warriors quickly transformed their shapes and successfully mimicked Su Bai's powerful frenzied beasts. The attributes of these mirror warriors exploded by dozens or even hundreds of times, meaning Xiao Liang now possessed an army of over 100,000 frenzied beasts. However, the strength of these mimicked frenzied beasts was only 50 of the originals. But that was still quite impressive. Ultimate fusion, blade horse integration, armored Tyrannosaurus, come forth. The commander ordered. In the next instant, hundreds of thousands of combat Tyrannosaurs quickly began to move, each taking their position beside the mirrored frenzied beasts according to the commander's instructions. Mount up. Immediately, the frenzied beasts rode atop the battle Tyrannosaurs, merging their battle powers into one, transforming into Tyrannosaurus cavalry. This was equivalent to adding their strengths together to create a more powerful unit. I want beef. I'm going to eat beef. The frenzied beast roared, leading the charge. And soon, hundreds of thousands of frenzied beast cavalry surged forward like a tsunami toward the enemy formation. This sudden influx of enemies caught the Earth Bull troops off guard. Hundreds of thousands of savage orc cavalry surged into the enemy ranks like a tidal wave, their battle axes swinging and reflecting cold glimmers of light. The roar of armored tyrannosaurs echoed through the skies, and wherever they went, the Minotaur warriors fell one after another, blood splattering everywhere. The enemy's formation was thrown into chaos, and in a matter of moments, casualties reached 80,000. The captain finally arrived for reinforcement. Indeed, having the support of the Ming dynasty's forces was the right decision. Witnessing this scene, the old General Li Sun-shin excitedly embraced Park Etienne. Turtle boats, regroup and fortify the position. Meanwhile, the high-ranking beings of the enemy, the Earth Giant Bull, quickly reacted. With a gloomy expression, He let out a deep growl. So they are secretly redeploying troops from the rear? Do they underestimate me? He ordered the reorganization of the defense line and the mobilization of heavy-armored Minotaur totem warriors. Soon, a group of even more robust, heavily armored Minotaur totem warriors, wielding massive totem poles, rushed to the front lines. Their heavy and powerful strides made the ground tremble with each step. These were the pride of the Earth Giant Bull. The Ground Kings, the heavy-armored Minotaur warriors. This type of warrior had powerful attributes, with each level possessing a crushing attack that ignored enemy defenses. Fortunately, Subai had not deployed the Apocalypse tank. Otherwise, it would have been as fragile as cardboard in front of him. When the two sides met, an earth-shattering clash erupted instantly. The battle axes of the savage orc cavalry intertwined with the totem poles of the heavy-armored Minotaur warriors. The sounds of metal clashing and roaring blending together. For a moment, both sides' powers counterbalanced each other, and the front line fell into a stalemate. Although the savage orc cavalry was incredibly fierce, the heavy-armored Minotaur totem warriors held their ground firmly with their strong defense and tenacious vitality. The battlefield was filled with smoke and the deafening sounds of battle. Damn it, we can't fight them head-on. The commander was somewhat anxious. After all, the combined skills required close cooperation between the two types of troops, and every command had to be issued with precision. Even the slightest error would be exhausting. The initial success didn't last long before they ran into tough resistance, which was clearly overwhelming. Our troop type has good mobility. Let's withdraw for now. Okay. In an instant, the agile battle Tyrannosaur cavalry turned and swiftly retreated from the battlefield. This left Park Iktian, who was trying to consolidate the battlefield, in a tough spot. Damn it. That little brat, and the captain. The captain asked you to save me, and you're not even trying. Turtle boats. Continue firing. Keep the enemy at bay. The situation was chaotic here, while on the other side, Sato Takayoshi had dispatched his Sunrise and successfully defeated the enemy's upper echelon, the three-headed hellhound of the dog tribe, and plundered its abilities. Congratulations to the demon team's Sato Takara for defeating the upper-tier canine, the hellhound, and plundering its ability. Life regeneration. Note: all troops under its command will grow 3 heads, and health will increase by 30. Chapter 263. The Psychic Girl. Jealousy and rivalry very good. Sato Takara, keep pushing forward. Hanli is responsible for cover. Subai shifted his gaze back to the disappointing trio, especially Park Iktian. This guy has been following me for so long, yet he hasn't made any progress at all. Instead, he has been showing off and bullying Xiao Liang and Captain Shama Te right under my nose. When it comes to actual combat, he's just a coward. At this moment, on the battlefield, Park Iktian was relying on his turtle shell ship for defense, continuously retreating for over 10 kilometers. A waste among wastes. Meanwhile, Xiao Liang and Shama Te, although they had repeatedly failed in their rescue attempts, were still trying to attack from the flanks. However, their efficiency was truly concerning. I'm so bored, master. The house is spotless now. Even the toilet is shining like gold. Beside him, Tian Chung watched the battlefield situation, unable to suppress her desire for battle. Naturally born for combat, she had been raised by Su Bai and had indeed become more disciplined. All right, let me check. The door activated its closing mode. 2 hours later. Why is this check different from what I imagined? Tian Chung adjusted her equipment, looking a bit aggrieved. The door unlocked. You did put in effort. I allow you to go into battle. Su Bai pointed at the giant celestial bull on the big screen. I want to eat beef. Can you handle it? Hearing the permission to fight, Tian Chung's lips curled up slightly, and the expression of the little demon seemed ready to leap out. However, Su Bai slapped her on the rear. Politeness. Yes. Tian Chung saluted and walked out the door. At that moment, a girl blocked her path. The newcomer was Omega Yuriko. Get out of the way, Tian Chung said softly, her eyes flashing with a cold, killing intent. Yuriko stood proudly, chest out and head held high, with a dismissive expression. A rookie just starting out speaks like this to a senior? Has your master not taught you manners yet? Tian Chung sneered. Do you want to die? I don't mind fulfilling that wish. Yuriko also smirked coldly. You can try. In an instant, both of their oppressive auras erupted. The metallic equipment inside and outside the room shook violently, lifted into the air by the force of their energy. Enough. If you want to fight in the nest, wash up first before talking. Subai commanded. The two pressures vanished in an instant. The metal objects suspended in the air all fell back to the ground. Both of them apologized at the same time. Sorry, master, we've affected your mood. Speak, Yuriko, what brings you here? The situation on the battlefield was unfavorable. The forces had already retreated 20 kilometers. If this continued, it would threaten the Sunrise Corps stationed at the Great Wall of the Multiverse. I am willing to personally lead the charge and deal with those Minotaurs. You. The Scales raised an eyebrow, clearly displeased. You should stay safely in the base. The task of handling those Minotaurs has already been assigned to me. I alone can resolve those troops, and there's no need for you to speak. The newcomer with white hair was speaking so brazenly. You should just focus on cleaning the base. That would be the most reassuring. Don't go looking for trouble. The two exchanged sharp words. Subai felt a thrill. It was clear someone was jealous. Then, Subai straightened up. Since that's the case, why not have a competition between you two, the telepathic psychokinetic girls, to see who can take down more minotaurs? At your command, Master. That's exactly what I had in mind. The two glared at each other, then each let out a huff and left the office. Hey, why are you leaving so quickly? I haven't even said the rules of the competition yet. Attack. Attack. The enemies behind are merely scratching the surface. It's not a big deal. Concentrate our superior forces. Give it your all, and break through the great wall of the multiverse. For every Minotaur warrior defeated, reward 500 head of the black and white patterned cows. The giant bull roared loudly. At the same time, it shook its body, sending millions of small creatures to the ground. Joining the assault, countless heavily armored Minotaur warriors heard their leader's command. Each Minotaur's mouth watered at the thought of those 500 plump, juicy cows. Although their essay saying that says there are only dead cows, not unplowed fields, that cow certainly doesn't want to die from overwork. In an instant, the fighting spirit erupted. The armored Minotaur warriors were fierce in their battle intent, easily breaking through one of Li Sun-shin's turtle ship defenses. At this moment, retreat was no longer an option for them. Li Sun-shin was covered in blood, facing a certain death. At that time, above the great wall of the multiverse, two girls floated in the air, slowly flying out, separating to the left and right. Facing millions of Minotaurs, they launched a charge that could take on 1,000. The Scale's beautiful face twisted at this moment, revealing an aura of malevolence. She waved her hands, manipulating gravity, causing a group of heavily armored Minotaurs to be gripped tightly by an invisible hand, unable to move. Laughing maniacally, her chilling laughter echoed. Ha! You pitiful creatures! Become my prey. With the laughter of the Scales, several explosive shurikens, gleaming with a strange light, shot out from her hands. The shurikens carved deadly arcs through the air, accurately hitting the trapped Minotaurs. In an instant, a deafening explosion echoed through the sky, flames soared high, and the powerful shockwave knocked the surrounding Minotaurs to the ground. Before the dust from the explosion settled, the Scale struck again. With a cruel glint in her eyes, she intensified the gravitational force, pressing the Minotaurs, who had just struggled to rise, heavily back to the ground, the sound of breaking bones clearly audible. The Scale's laughter grew more manic. Come on, keep struggling. It's just a futile effort before your deaths. Immediately, she waved her hands repeatedly, and more explosive shurikens fell like rain, each explosion bringing bloodshed and chaos. Yuriko Omega appeared much calmer, but her methods were equally ruthless. She concentrated her mind, and a powerful telepathic force surged outward, causing many heavily armored Minotaurs to lose their self-awareness in an instant, falling into a frenzy of mutual attacks. They swung their weapons at their own comrades, blood splattering everywhere. And screams echoed. Yuriko coldly watched it all, hands clasped together, as a brilliant wave of psychic destruction suddenly erupted from in front of her. The destructive wave advanced with unstoppable force, obliterating everything in its path, whether it was the armored Minotaurs or the densely packed invincible parasites, all instantly reduced to nothingness. As the Scales and Yuriko ruthlessly eliminated their enemies, they silently counted in their hearts. With each enemy the Scales defeated, she would excitedly shout out the numbers. Her laughter and shouts intertwining, sending chills down people's spines. Chapter 264, Ripping Beef Apart. Telekinesis annihilates the enemy general. Although Yuriko was not as wild as the Scales, her eyes were filled with the same murderous intent, and her speed in killing enemies showed no signs of slowing. Park Il-kyun and Yi Sun-sin, nearby, were already stunned into silence by this terrifying scene. Park Il-kyun trembled all over, stammering, This is simply the power of a demon. It's too terrifying, too terrifying. Yi Sun-sin's face turned pale, his eyes wide, stuttering. These two girls are simply unimaginable beings. Our previous battles are nothing compared to them. 150,000. 253, 643. 300,000. Ah. Die. All of you die. The Scales caressed her charmingly wild half-face with her small hand. Her expression was grim, devoid of the slightest hint of the obedience she had after being schooled by Subai. In her eyes, only slaughter brought the greatest joy. On the opposite side, Yuriko's rate of killing enemies was clearly lagging behind by 150,000. She said nothing, merely snorted coldly once more, as flames erupted from countless fire oxen charging towards her. Activating her shield, with arms extended like a celestial crane, she swiftly entered the enemy's formation. At this moment, she gathered the power of the super energy destruction wave throughout her body, then compressed it into a singularity before bursting forth. This full-force strike from her caused the surrounding space to seem unable to withstand the immense energy, resulting in distortion. A brilliant light flashed, accompanied by a deafening roar, as a massive energy sphere rapidly expanded from her center. Wherever it reached, heavily armored foes were instantly reduced to ashes, leaving not even a trace behind. The powerful shockwave kicked up a cloud of dust, forming a colossal storm. As the storm swept through, it sent sand and debris flying, creating utter chaos. Amidst it all, she stood gracefully, her attire fluttering, resembling the arrival of a grim reaper. Seeing this scene, the laughter of the opposing leader abruptly ceased, and her expression grew darker. She shouted angrily, "Humph, don't think you will win." With that, she waved her hands again, increasing the intensity of the gravitational field, firmly pinning more enemies to the ground. Then, she wildly hurled explosive throwing darts, which streaked through the air like shooting stars, causing the earth to tremble with each explosion. At this moment, the battlefield was in complete disarray, with flames, smoke, and cries of anguish intertwining. Both allies stood frozen in shock at the breathtaking scene. One of them, trembling, sat down on the ground, murmuring, "Is this a battle of deities?" The other gripped his weapon tightly, his eyes filled with fear. "Report. The enemy has already killed over 1 million of our warriors. 2 young children. Army. I will fight." Suddenly, a colossal bull, towering over 100 meters and wielding a flaming spear, charged towards her and the opposing leader with overwhelming force. Each step it took caused the ground to tremble violently, as if doomsday were approaching. The giant bull swung its blazing spear, unleashing a torrent of flames that ignited the surrounding air, transforming it into a raging inferno. Her expression turned serious as she swiftly moved her hands, unleashing powerful telekinetic energy that forcefully tore a gap in the sea of flames, preventing it from advancing even an inch. The opposing leader snorted, her hands moving rapidly, sending a barrage of exploding darts flying like meteors, accurately striking the giant bull's body. Each explosion stirring up great clouds of dust and fire. The giant bull roared in fury, spewing forth a hellish inferno from its nostrils, the flames resembling a wild beast, threatening to engulf the entire world. She swiftly dodged, leaping into the air to avoid the deadly flames, and shouted, "Is this all you've got? Moving so slowly. Do you think you can kill this monster before me? Dream on." The opposing leader gritted her teeth and retorted, "Humph, don't get too cocky. You can't be that much stronger than me with those mediocre skills." The Libra swiftly leveraged gravity to pull itself behind the colossal beast, conjuring several darts in hand, which it hurled fiercely at the beast's back. In an instant, both sides were locked in a fierce battle. "Those detestable human women. How dare they look down on me?" The colossal beast let out a thunderous roar, flames condensing on its spear, enveloping the entire area in a fiery barrier. Within this barrier was like a miniature sun's alchemical furnace, where all living beings would be scorched to death, even those with exceptional resistance to heat. Flames roared everywhere, blindingly bright like the sun. The remaining hundreds of thousands of bull-headed warriors began to ignite amidst their cries of agony, their bodies sizzling and releasing the aroma of cooked meat. Watching from the sidelines, Park Il-kyun and Lee Sun-shin were already stunned into silence. Park Il-kyun's mouth was agape, his eyes fixated on the battlefield, muttering to himself, "This is simply beyond imagination. What terrifying power this is." Lee Sun-shin, gripping his weapon tightly, beads of sweat covering his forehead, trembled as he said, "It's too strong. The higher beings are truly formidable. Subai's 2 heroes are doomed now." Amidst the blazing flames, 2 orbs of light shone brightly, breaking through the sea of fire and soaring into the sky. They were alive. Lee Sun-shin gasped. It turned out that when the colossal beast unleashed its fiery barrier, both Yahiko and Libra activated their respective telekinetic shields. This shield successfully blocked the flames' assault, allowing them to escape the enemy's onslaught. "Damn it, you nearly hurt me. I will make you pay." Libra extended her left hand, placing her right hand on her wrist. Concentrating her telekinetic energy, the gravity suddenly shifted. The colossal beast felt its body lighten, completely unaware of what was happening. At the same time, Yahiko made a corresponding move, applying her gravity control technique. The 2 feuding women surprisingly found a harmonious synergy, slowly lifting the colossal beast into the air, greatly restricting its movements. As Libra intensified the gravitational pull, she taunted, "Yahiko, you look exhausted. Why not let me handle this big guy?" Yahiko retorted, "Stop boasting, Libra. Could you do it without me?" The colossal beast struggled wildly in the air, emitting deafening roars, but could not break free from the powerful dual restraints. The combined strength of Yahiko and Libra continued to escalate, pulling at the massive body of the beast from both sides. Finally, with a chilling tearing sound, the colossal beast's body could no longer withstand the immense force and disintegrated in midair, scattering into countless fragments like meteors. Seeing this, Park Il-kyun's legs weakened, collapsing to the ground as he stuttered. How is this possible? Lee Soon-shin's eyes widened in disbelief, standing frozen in place, unable to regain his composure. Chapter 265. Is it a trap? Or a free magical portal? Should we send it directly to the boss to get started? Is he dead? No way. How is that possible? 12 rulers of the Beast King, and we've already lost 4 generals in less than 2 hours of engagement. The leading Supreme Blood Dragon King almost couldn't stand. The Shintian Kuan chicken, stripped of its feathers by the opponent's weapon. The Wanshou goat was hit by a laser from the sky, severing its body. One after another, 2 more generals have fallen. It seems we can only resort to our last move. Otherwise, we won't be able to give an account to the Demon Lord. The Blood Dragon King emerges. The world changes color. Amidst the confusion, red lightning rolls through the clouds. The air is filled with a blood-red glow. Standing on the Great Wall of all realms, Subai looks at this scene in the sky and can't help but say, the big one is coming? Sure enough, within the clouds, it seems that a blood dragon is soaring. Following that, blood rain pours down in torrents. Found it. The Blood Dragon King unleashes the Blood Dragon True Eye. A 5-pointed star formation quickly forms around Subai's position. Adisha brings a raincoat. General, put on the raincoat. No need. It's just blood water. It won't harm me at all. Taking out Frostmourne from the void, Subai points to the sky. The icy aura surges upwards like a raging torrent. That cold breath quickly spreads, solidifying the blood rain in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the pouring blood rain has turned into falling blood snowflakes. No matter what monsters or flying soldiers you have up there, go and investigate. General, look around. Around Subai, the 5-pointed star formation flashes. A Blood Dragon True Eye rapidly gathers energy. Huh. The Blood Dragon King shouts. On the Great Wall of all realms, Subai's figure disappears. The Blood Dragon King gasps for breath, blood flowing uncontrollably from one of his dragon eyes. He covers his eye, thinking, 1 eye in exchange for 1 enemy general. I've done my best. If the Demon Lord cannot defeat this mortal, then it's not my fault. The Blood Dragon King leaves, but is intercepted by Subai's flying soldiers. When Subai wakes up again, he finds himself on Atasha's legs. A faint, delicate fragrance, accompanied by soft warmth, wafts into his nostrils. He sniffs a couple of times. Isn't it very light? This is the scent of our national flower, the sunflower, representing brightness, hope, and loyalty. Subai slowly sits up. It seems we are underground now. Commander, communication has also been cut off. Adisha looked around and said, it seems we've fallen into the trap set by that guy in the sky. It must be some kind of teleportation spell. Subai analyzed the situation and continued to attempt to contact friendly forces outside. As expected, just as Adisha had said, there was no signal at all. However, he surprisingly received a distress signal from a nearby team. This shocked Subai. The signal was very close. The 2 sides should be no more than 50 kilometers apart. We can barely hold on any longer. Whoever you are, if you can save us, I am willing to give everything and serve you. A stunning beauty kept sending out coordinates through her mind. Wasn't she the female team member next to Zheng Jia? Her name seemed to be Zhan Lan. How were these people like cockroaches that just wouldn't die? They hadn't been completely wiped out yet. On the other side, the Celestial Alliance had already suffered heavy casualties, with half of their members dead or injured. The sword array of extermination had long been in ruins. Zheng Jia coughed up blood, and everyone had come to accept that their time was short. Instead, they felt a strange calmness. Meanwhile, the members of the Celestial Alliance sat together, their bodies covered in wounds, with despair and a sense of grandeur filling the air. Rogan looked up at the sky, the fear in his eyes gradually fading, replaced by a sense of tranquility. Perhaps we should never have embarked on this risky path from the very beginning. But now, it's too late to say anything. Xiao Honglu sighed softly. I used to blame Zheng Jia for being reckless, but now that I think about it, he was only trying to ensure a better future for everyone. Only at this brink of life and death do we understand his hardships and responsibilities. Zhan Lan wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, a faint smile appearing on her face. If this is our fate, then there is nothing to regret. It's just a pity that we can no longer see that beautiful world. Zheng Jia held his body upright, his gaze firm as he looked at everyone. I led everyone down this path, and I'm sorry for that. But we have never backed down, never feared. And that is enough. The other team members nodded in agreement, their hearts free of fear. Zhang Heng tightened his grip on his longbow and slowly said, if someone can save us, it must be the will of the gods. I am willing to give everything, my body, my life, my soul, to repay this life-saving grace. Ing Kong quietly looked at the short sword in his hand, his voice cold. Life and death are fated. If we can be saved, I will repay with my life. Everyone fell silent for a moment, then sighed together. Their fate might already be sealed, but at this last moment, they accepted their death calmly. Just then, Zhan Lan sensed another presence. She was shocked. Her chest trembled suddenly in disbelief. That signal was from Su Bai of the demon team. Everyone was astounded. They could hardly believe that Su Bai, who had always refused their rescue, had personally led a team over. Is this real? Miss Jeanlon, is this true? Don't lie to us. Please wait a moment. I will continue to detect the signal, Jeanlon said. After confirming again and again, she took a deep breath. The tension in the air grew larger. Exhaling, she spoke with a slightly trembling voice. It's true. It is Su Bai from the demon team. Everyone was shocked. After the initial astonishment, a complex mix of emotions surged within them. A desire for rescue, mixed with doubts about Su Bai's actions. Miss Jeanlon, quickly tell us. How many troops did Su Bai bring for the rescue? Someone asked. Yes, Su Bai is always mysterious. If he comes to rescue, how many troops could he possibly have? This place is extremely dangerous, another added. Jeanlon took a deep breath, trying to calm her excited heart, and once again concentrated on sensing the signal. The signal was very weak and small. Please wait, I will focus again, she said. Everyone held their breath, not daring to interrupt Jeanlon's exploration. Jeanlon's expression began to change. She felt something unbelievable. Jeanlon, how many troops did Su Bai bring for the rescue? Very few, she replied. Few? That's fine. It doesn't have to be 1,000,000. 50,000 would work, and if that can't be gathered, even 10,000 elite troops could break through. The crowd began to express their opinions. 2, Jeanlon stated. The crowd exchanged glances, somewhat confused. That's right, just 2, one person, one hero. Chapter 266. A single sniper shot takes down the enemy leader, instantly freeing the other teams. In the Iron Blood Demon Palace. At the 18 levels of the 10,000 realms, the Lord of the Realms, the Demon Lord, Blood Dragon King did well. He brought the leader of the demon team to my territory. Moreover, his main forces are still stranded at the Great Wall of the 10,000 realms. Alone. I will send a team of rat slaves to capture this leader. I want him to kneel before me and kiss my toes, begging for mercy for his pitiful life. Master, should we go up or down? Let's go up. After all, people seek higher ground while water flows downward. Also, that Blood Dragon King brought me here. I want to go out and peel his dragon skin, extract his dragon tendons. Understood. I will follow your command. Adisha saluted. The two walked slowly, taking the opportunity to admire the scenery of the Iron Blood Demon Palace. On the edges of the palace, murals depicted various extravagant scenes of men and women, making one blush, especially Adisha, who intentionally stayed close to Su Bai. A gust of wind brushed by, and Su Bai found himself momentarily unable to move. You wouldn't want to play with a sniper, would you? Su Bai asked, just as he finished speaking. A click was heard as Adisha chambered a round in her sniper rifle. Master, I just aimed through the scope and detected enemy activity ahead. Su Bai looked through Atasha's sniper rifle and indeed saw enemies in the distance. A blood skeleton mage was continuously casting hidden spells. Countless streams of blood surged up from the edges of the tiled floor of the Iron Blood Magic Palace, gradually forming a humanoid figure that walked further away. That should be the enemy's general or controller. Can you take a shot at him? If we don't focus on the enemy's weaknesses, missing a shot could expose our position. Adisha expressed her concerns. It's hard to finally see the enemy, and I'm really fired up. We must take him down. If I succeed, there's a reward. But if I miss? Yes, Master, I guarantee I will complete the task. Immediately, Adisha crouched down on the ground, setting up the sniper rifle stand. Master, you should also get down here. Standing makes you a bigger target. Su Bai also brought out his gun and crouched down. Aiming. Natasha pulled the trigger. The bullet sliced through the air like a bolt of lightning, racing towards the blood skeleton mage at an astonishing speed. At that critical moment, the blood skeleton mage seemed to sense something, slightly raising his head, but it was already too late to make any effective evasive action. With a loud bang, the sniper rifle's bullet accurately struck the skull of the blood skeleton. The powerful impact instantly shattered the skull, sending fragments flying through the air in a strange arc. The blood skeleton mage's body shook violently, then collapsed to the ground like a puppet that had lost its strings. As the blood skeleton mage fell, the blood human summoning array he had conjured also dissipated instantly. Those humanoid figures formed from blood seemed to lose control, turning back into pools of blood that flowed back to the edges of the tiled floor of the Iron Blood Magic Palace. Nice. A critical damage of 500,000. One-shot kill. Adisha exclaimed excitedly. Keep shooting. The enemy will definitely check here. So prepare for another wave of ambush, Su Bai ordered. Yes, Master. As expected. Just as Su Bai predicted, a group of shadows surged in the distance like a tide. It was hundreds of soul-chasing spirits. They were clawing and howling, exuding a terrifying aura as they rapidly approached Su Bai and Atasha's position. Atasha's eyes sharpened, quickly adjusting the sniper rifle's scope to aim at the leading soul-chasing spirit. With a bang, the bullet whistled out, accurately hitting the head of one soul-chasing spirit, instantly exploding the heads of 5 behind it. Those 5 heads burst like watermelons. with black blood and shattered bones splattering everywhere. Without any pause, she continued to shoot in succession. Each shot was like the call of death, each one finding its mark. The soul-chasing spirits fell one after another, but showed no sign of slowing their charge. With each shot from the sniper rifle, Atasha's body shook slightly from the impact. It felt a bit like the mobile game goddess of victory, Nick. With that, Subai also pulled out his gun and joined the fight. Master. Why are you shooting too? Quickly put your gun away, it will affect my aim. Subai fired 3 shots. How could that be? Those 3 consecutive hits earlier were quite accurate. Atasha bit her lip, suppressing Subai's interference, and continued shooting at the enemies. On the other side, the alliance of over 100 people was now reduced to just over 30, with 90 of them being young and beautiful women. All the men had perished. Zheng Jia's sword formation had been completely shattered, and everyone faced countless undead blood creatures, waiting for the Grim Reaper to descend at any moment. But at that moment, all the blood creatures suddenly exploded, turning into blood that flowed through the cracks in the tiles and gradually disappeared. This left everyone looking at each other in confusion. What on earth had happened? No one knew. They only realized that the enemy's offensive had weakened instantly, with at least a 90 reduction in intensity. Zhanlan, what is going on? One of the female team members from a squad weakly approached Zhanlan and asked. The enemy leader seems to be dead, and there appears to be a powerful external force counterattacking our enemies. That can't be right. You're a psychic type, and most of your team consists of telekinetic soldiers. You should have a particularly high perception. If there really is an external force breaking through, you should be able to sense it clearly. Zhanlan shook her head. I'm sorry, I can't detect any signals. It's just too faint. It feels like these monsters just suddenly died. Another female team member covered her mouth. Could it be that Su Bai and his female hero did this? Zheng Jia managed to stand up from the ground. No way. Just one hero couldn't possibly compare to our million-strong army. Even with 1,000,000 troops, we couldn't defeat the enemy. It's safe to say the enemy's strength exceeds 1,000,000. Even if Su Bai came in now, it would be dire for him. We should concentrate our forces and send a scout unit to investigate. Who's willing to take the lead? Zhanlan asked. The remaining women fell silent. What if it was an enemy ambush? Wouldn't that spell doom for them? Zhanlan, you're from the Central Continent team. You have a responsibility to go for us. One of the female team members from another unit said. No, I'm a telekinetic type. Everyone's escape still relies on me. So it has to be one of you from the squads. After asking around, no one was willing to volunteer. The remaining survivors from the Central Continent team were even less inclined. One of the female team members from another unit sighed. Chapter 267, Moral Coercion. Sorry. Subai is not falling for this. There are still over 30 female team members left, each with only a few hundred soldiers remaining. Everyone contributed 5 soldiers to form a 100-person squad, slowly advancing towards the location where the enemy retreated, step by step. On Subai's side, he noticed a glimmer of gold in the distance. There was a small troop. Atash reported the latest situation. Using his keen eyesight, Subai also spotted the small troop shining in gold, which didn't seem to be the enemy. He instructed the others to keep their distance, warning that they would open fire otherwise. A sniper fired a shot, which landed at the feet of the Southern European team. Please stop. I am Athena from the Southern European team of the Divine Alliance. If you are Subai from the Demon team, please do not attack. A female voice called out. In front of her, 12 golden-armored warriors immediately formed a wall to defend against incoming bullets. These 12 golden warriors corresponded to the 12 zodiac signs and were the pride of Athena, the captain of the Southern European team. In her parallel world, she was the only one capable of commanding all 12 heroes, a rare talent even among many parallel worlds. Stand down. Athena still couldn't believe that the captain of the demon team, Subai, had crossed a chasm that a million-strong army couldn't overcome with just a single hero. Subai asked, did you summon these golden warriors? Yes, I can summon 12 zodiac heroes. I can summon 120,000 silver warriors and 500,000 bronze warriors, she replied. Then summon all your 120,000 silver warriors for me. Athena frowned. I can only summon 12 heroes, and that's my limit. The previous battle has exhausted all the energy in my body. Is that so? Subai nodded and casually took out some energy-restoring potions from his space. Thank you, she said, drinking it all at once as her energy slowly recovered. Subai extended his hand to help Athena back to the temporary camp of the Divine Alliance. Instantly, the camp erupted with cheers. The captain of the demon team really came to rescue them, and everyone was moved to tears. Zhenya personally expressed his gratitude. Thank you for your rescue. It shows true character. Athena snorted coldly. Without the right tools, don't take on a delicate task. Zhenya, you've nearly gotten us all killed. Li Kaidang, the captain of the Jiaoji team, glared angrily. Zhenya, look at the mess you've created. Because of your poor decisions, we lost so many comrades. You must give us an explanation. Exactly. Who do you think you are? Why should we risk our lives following you? Now look. So many have sacrificed. How will you take responsibility? Another team member shouted loudly. Zhang Lan approached Su Bai with great urgency, grabbing his arm. Su Bai, I'm begging you. The Zhongzhou team has become the target of everyone's criticism. Can't you put aside past grievances and help us once more? Otherwise, Captain Zheng must face the consequences today. Su Bai sneered. His life or death has nothing to do with me. If you can't stay put and guard the Great Wall, and instead wander into traps, you're all adults. You should take responsibility for your own actions. Assassin Kong pulled at Su Bai's other arm. Su Bai, now that Zheng Ye has admitted his mistakes, why make things difficult for him? We're all in the same boat now. Losing anyone could jeopardize the entire Great Wall of 10,000 realms. Besides, our Zhongzhou team is willing to give up the position of the strongest squad to your demon team. Stop with the moral coercion. Let me tell you, saving you was just a coincidence. If you want to leave, find your own way. This place is great. I'm going to turn it into a stronghold. I'll accept anyone who can benefit me. Otherwise, stay as far away as possible. Su Bai's expression turned impatient. Stop trying to take advantage of me. You got lucky that I saved you, and now you're not satisfied. You want me to accept you? What do you think you are? The crowd fell silent. But at least they had a sense of balance in their hearts. After all, Su Bai was also caught in this situation, with no way to contact the upper levels. They could only delve deeper and take down the demon king of the iron-blooded 18th layer. They were a considerable force themselves. Without them, even if Su Bai could win, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. Su Bai stood up from beside the campfire, waving his hand. The Yuri base vehicle drove out and began construction. Power plants, barracks, heavy industry, and troop recovery stations. Teams of soldiers started pouring out of the barracks. It began with dozens, then gradually turned into hundreds. The same went for the Gator vehicles, along with waves of armored tanks. You, Athena, do you want to be my subordinate? The Athena from the Southern European team had long since become a lone commander, her entire team wiped out. After witnessing Su Bai take down thousands with a single shot, she was eager to align herself with him. Immediately, she nodded, standing up and shaking Su Bai's arm. I'm willing, of course. All right. Now that your energy has mostly recovered, summon 50,000 silver-armored warriors for me. Got it. Athena focused her mind, waving her staff, and 50,000 soldiers lined up, shining in silver, blinding everyone around. The remaining onlookers were astonished. How could Athena summon so many soldiers? Did Su Bai give her a recovery potion? Soon, more people stood up. We also want to join you. Please take us in. Su Bai did not reply but continued to speak to Athena. Command all your silver warriors to enter the troop recovery station for cash exchange. What? Fine. After all, my life is in your hands. Athena dared not defy him. Su Bai thought to himself, that's obvious. If it weren't for your soldiers being so well equipped, and I'm not lacking women around me, what use would there be in recruiting you? Hundreds and thousands of silver warriors entered the troop recovery station amidst the sounds of wails and cries. Su Bai's resources kept rising. When will this money finally be transferred? He handed Athena another bottle of recovery potion. Just focus on surviving. Once you're done, everything goes back to me. That's your value. Athena wore a mournful expression. Damn it. Even if I have many children, it's not like I can give birth as much as this in web novels. Li Kaiteng quickly spoke up. Thank you, Captain Su. May I ask which country you are from? Dragon country, why? Oh, that's great. I happen to have a territory decree. Once used, it can merge all the lands of the parallel universe of Jiaoji into the Dragon country. It's just a small token of my appreciation. No. It should be called returning the jade to Zhao. Su Bai stroked his chin. Although it was of no use to him, he thought, since he was from the Dragon country, it was a nice gesture from his homeland. All right, I allow you to be my subordinate. Chapter 268. Mind conclusion, fully activated. He received the territory decree and used it. Merge of the divine land. Returning the jade to Zhao. Unification of the 9 provinces. Divine blessing for Huaxia. In an instant, an inexplicable entanglement entered Su Bai's heart. It seemed he could communicate with the Dragon country across countless parallel universes. Now was not the time to experiment with this power. Where did this thing come from? Li Kaiteng felt embarrassed to reveal where this item originated. Because her acquisition was not honorable, she had seized it during a mission from the previous Zhongzhou team's hall. Why bother with all that? Not only can I give you territory, but I can also offer my own strength. Su Bai's troops were multiplying rapidly. It was clear that even if these forces did not attack the Demon Lord, staying here for self-defense would pose no problem. Can I join? I can offer the unexpectedly obtained Eastern Emperor Bell. Striking this bell causes all hostile units to fall into a 3-second daze, an artifact among artifacts. I also want to contribute. Zeus's Thunder Armor, enhancing Thunder attributes by 5. All Thunder-type troops can benefit from this. I ask for nothing in return, just grateful for Captain Su's previous life-saving grace. I happen to have a Maya crystal skull that can chant a death knell at night, reducing the defense of enemy troops within dozens of miles by 3. That's right. No need for formalities, just talking doesn't help much. This Pharaoh's staff is dedicated to you. It enhances the magical damage of the reinforced command unit. I want to present the Vampire Fong, the ancient ship from the Mariana Trench, the Zulu Spear, the Bronze Ancient Tree, the Atmospheric Monster, Noah's Ark, the Purple Gold Gourd. Some random nonsense. These people indiscriminately place everything on Subai. They only wish to break through here and save themselves. The once unbreakable Celestial Alliance quickly crumbled, leaving only a few from the Central Plains team. We also. Zhanlan quietly asked Zheng Jia. Zheng Jia nodded indifferently, but then shook his head. He stopped the surrounding team members and proactively walked up to Subai. Subai looked at his disheveled appearance and couldn't help but smile. Forget it. I've received enough gifts. I'm in a good mood, so your Central Plains team is spared as well. Zheng Jia struggled for a moment. No need. This is my last thank you to you. Next time, I will bring my army to crush you. For the sake of my girlfriend's revenge. Subai blinked. This guy really has some guts. Since that's the case, I 1T push it. If he weren't from the Dragon Nation, he would have been taken out with a single shot long ago. Next time you dare to provoke me, I will deal with you. The Iron Blood 18th level. The Demon Lord was restless, pacing back and forth. Iwei set up an intricate trap. Capturing the Demon Squad leader was a piece of cake. However, the opponent broke through his blood formation from the outside with just one cavalry. How is it? The Iron Blood Demon reported to the Demon Lord. Rest assured, they are currently at the Iron Blood 10th level. From the 14th level to here, we have set up layers of defenses. It's absolutely solid. Is it possible for the Demon Lord to proceed? Have the Thousand-Hand Giant and the Hundred-Eyed Giant been positioned? They are already in place. These two giants have omniscient vision. The opponent's massive forces cannot advance here at all. Those ant-sized troops can be crushed with a single step. Meanwhile, on Subai's side, the walls are ready. The perimeter has been fortified with layers of walls as the base's outer defense. Gatling cannons and mind control towers are stacked up. Over 2,000 troops are guarding the main routes. In the temporary tent, the previous team leaders of the Celestial Alliance were so exhausted that they fell asleep on the upper and lower bunks and couldn't help Subai at all. Except for Athena, who was always busy giving birth. Every Silver Soldier had 3 mobilizers worth of resources after entering the troop recovery station. For now, let us leave it at that. It won't be long before the opponent reorganizes their forces and comes back again. After all, how could one allow others to sleep peacefully beneath the side couch? Being in the realm of magic, one must surely be a thorn in the eyes of others. Continuing to explore the connections with the Dragon Kingdom, Subai focused his mind. Countless parallel images of the Dragon Kingdom flashed before his eyes like a movie. It was simply astonishing. It was estimated that Li Kaidang possessed a territory token from the Dragon Kingdom. She must also feel the wonders of it. However, for those who survive in the battlefield of myriad worlds, such worthless items would likely be kept or traded, but never used, as they hold no value. To Subai, it was at most a toy. There was no notion of profit or loss. Images flashed. Armies, tanks, cars, and so on. Subai quickly grasped a scene that raced by in his consciousness. Iron cavalry, wolf infantry vehicles, so familiar. Could this be the Burning Wind world in a parallel dimension? He continued to extract more information. The connections with other worlds swiftly entered Subai's mind. Royal cavalry, spear soldiers, railgun infantry. Warning, warning. The Red Alert 2 system is experiencing a mod invasion. The source program will split. Do you wish to prevent the source program from splitting? Subai was taken aback. What was going on? Previously, when he created iron cavalry and wolf infantry vehicles, such a situation had never occurred. Now, merely connecting to a segment of a parallel universe had triggered a system disturbance. After a moment's hesitation, Subai decided to choose the split. Even if the original system was damaged, at least he would have a new system, Red Alert 3. Even without Red Alert 2, having Red Alert 3 was not too bad, and his strength had not regressed too much. I choose it. Splitting in progress. System split completed. Due to your connection to unstable data, Red Alert 2 has split into 2 versions. Original Red Alert 2 and a brand new mod version, Mind's End. You can use the Burning Wind faction in Mind's End. You can also switch back to the original system at any time. Unexpected module acquired. Red Alert content expanded. The system rewards you. All units in Mind's End receive a 30 overall attribute boost. As mechanical sounds echoed in Subai's mind, he still couldn't believe that he had truly acquired Mind's End, this unofficial version. Moreover, this split system even granted rewards. Could it be that he was encouraged to collect as many unofficial versions as possible? Thinking of this, Subai considered a possibility, survival. Like humans, to live on, one must have a sense of presence. If you lose your sense of presence in society, then undoubtedly the system's actions ensure that the Red Alert continues to flourish, remaining ever vibrant. Chapter 269. The enemy strikes back, interrupting Subai's rhythm. Through his mental sea, he sees that another base has mysteriously appeared. Feng Feng Construction Factory. Subai lets out a sigh. First, He will move it out of the stone sea and deploy it within this magical palace. Inside the underground palace, a strong wind rushes in from an unknown entrance, possibly emanating from the dark energy of the 18th level of the palace. This fierce wind could pose a threat to ordinary people, potentially leading to the invasion of wind-related viruses. The consequences could range from illness to death. However, this wind could be quite useful for generating electricity. He clicks to select Wind Power Generation Box. As the massive swirling fan begins to rotate, a buzzing sound follows, marking the official establishment of Foam in this otherworldly land, continuing its construction. Barracks are ready. Foam or refinery. A Foam mechanical mining robot rolls out from the refinery. In this underground magical palace, there are no resources. However, due to the previous battle, Athena has exhausted her entire stock of potions. The number of silver warriors summoned has reached over 900,000, with countless bronze warriors as well. Their corpses are scattered everywhere, and the grinder at the front of the ore truck sucks in the bodies along with their armor. Under the distant lights of the ore truck, clouds of blood mist explode around it. Before long, the once pristine mechanical mining beetle returns as a blood-covered creature, with bits of flesh hanging from its body. Looking quite repulsive, the ore is poured into the refinery, smoke rises, and an odor of meat wafts through the air. Subai feels a twinge of discomfort. Damn it, this is a refinery, not a crematorium. Although he grumbles, he still clicks to add 3 more ore refineries. This is all valuable silver, it cannot be wasted. Subai also constructs 2 more barracks. The previous 2,000 Yuri troops took him 2 hours to produce. There is no choice. His million-strong army is stationed under the Great Wall of 10,000 realms. Now that production is restarting, the troop deployment speed will definitely be slower than before. He continues building structures. Foam War Factory. Just then, a figure with bright blue hair rushes over, panting heavily as it approaches Subai, hands resting on its knees. The lighting inside the magical palace is poor, but with enhanced eyesight, Subai can clearly see the figure's distress. It was quite deep, haha. Still bent over, gasping for breath. After a while, Zhanlan straightened up. She grabbed Subai's hands, drenched in sweat. Not good. I feel a powerful force heading our way. If I'm not mistaken, it's another wave of counterattack from the enemy. In the dark environment of the Demon Palace, neither radar nor spy satellites could penetrate the veil of war. However, Yuri's mental detector still picked up faint lines indicating enemy forces approaching. I knew that if I wasn't wrong, the enemy was likely encircling us from the east, west, and south. Zhanlan opened her mouth wide, her eyes wide open. She couldn't believe that she was the only psychic warrior under the main god of the battlefield who had unlocked the 3rd level of the genetic lock. The Subai before her could actually see through the enemy's movements, just like she could. The rest of her words were swallowed back. Zhenya regained some spirit and ate a bit of simple food. He pulled aside the tent flap. In the hazy light, he saw Zhanlan bent over, standing beside Subai. He gasped sharply. Zhanlan, you. I can't believe you did this behind my back. His blood surged, and he felt a rush of panic in his head. He quickly supported himself against the tent and returned inside, breathing heavily. He found it hard to accept the current situation. All along, Zhanlan had been the woman who supported him the most in the team. Before he could finish sighing, a series of booming sounds came from the distance. At the front line, Yuri's new recruits had already engaged in combat with the demon cavalry. Firewolves. The new recruits attacked the demon cavalry with their mental flames. The blazing mental fire surged towards the cavalry with a strong mental shock, like a tidal wave. However, the demon cavalry was extremely agile, maneuvering across the battlefield. They sometimes split into small groups to ambush Yuri's recruits from various angles, and at other times quickly regrouped, using their powerful impact to break through Yuri's defenses. Soon, the first line of defense was breached under the fierce assault of the cavalry, forcing Yuri's recruits to fight and retreat towards the second line of defense. At the second line of defense, the Gatling cannons were already on high alert. As the cavalry approached, the Gatling cannons roared, unleashing a storm of bullets. The cavalry suffered heavy losses under this overwhelming firepower, with many of them falling into pools of blood. The enemy did not relent. They employed extraordinary tactics, and suddenly, countless giant hands descended from the sky. These giant hands, carrying unimaginable power, struck forcefully towards the mental control tower and the Gatling cannons. Under the massive slap, the mind control tower and the Gatling cannon were instantly shattered, with debris flying everywhere. As the smoke cleared, a muscular figure over 100 meters tall, resembling a giant with countless arms, appeared on the battlefield. His enormous body exuded a chilling sense of oppression. With a mere thought, a powerful wave of supernatural energy instantly spread out. Over 100 new recruits were caught in the impact of this energy, their organs bursting instantly, collapsing to the ground in agony. Inside the base, the storm tank quickly responded, racing towards the giant with countless arms. The cannon of the tank spewed out furious flames, with shells raining down upon the giant. Just as the tank was about to get close, an unexpected event occurred. The tanks began to turn their weapons on each other, firing at their own comrades. Another giant had appeared from a different direction on the battlefield. This one had all its limbs intact, but its eyes were sewn shut, relying solely on supernatural attacks. It released a strange form of energy that interfered with the control systems of the storm tanks, causing chaos among them. The various squad leaders of the Alliance were jolted awake by the roars on the battlefield. They hurriedly rushed out of their temporary tents. And upon seeing the towering figure of the giant with countless eyes and the giant with countless arms, as well as the marauding wolf cavalry of the demon army, shock and fear instantly spread through everyone's hearts. What kind of monster is this? Such immense power. How could we possibly withstand it? One squad leader stammered. I didn't expect the enemy to be so terrifying. We thought we could survive here, but now it seems we were too naive. Another squad leader's face turned pale, his eyes filled with fear. Can Captain Subai withstand these enemies? Are we going to fall into despair again? Someone asked worriedly. They began to whisper among themselves. The power of these giants was beyond imagination. Our strength was insignificant before them. Although Captain Subai is strong, facing such enemies, he might have little chance of victory. Chapter 270. A sword opens the gate of heaven. Zheng Jia shows his true power. The undead creatures that had restrained me have vanished. I alone shall slay these enemies. Behind everyone, Captain Zheng Jia pushed through the crowd, his eyes revealing a fierce killing intent once more. Previously restrained by those blood creatures was merely an accident. Now it is time to showcase my true strength. This will not only prove my power and instill fear in Subai, but at least it will regain the confidence of everyone. Let all know I Zheng Jia remain a kingly presence in the entire multiverse battlefield squad. At this moment, although his energy had not yet returned to its peak state after a day of rest, he had recovered nearly 13. To deal with the enemies before him, that was clearly enough. Fury erupted, and the air trembled. Over 20. 000 sword-wielding cultivators burst forth from his chest. Master, this is the strongest power of the human race. One of the heroes, named Han Li, shouted loudly. A treasured sword flew out from behind him. Zheng Jia charged forward, leaping into the air, landing firmly on the sword. Fly with the sword. Charge with me. Eliminate these enemies. Instantly, tens of thousands of cultivators soared through the air, walking on the void like flying soldiers circling above. Prepare. Fire all arrows. Zheng Jia commanded. In an instant, the cultivators raised their swords, and as their blades gleamed, countless sword energies coalesced into sharp light arrows. These arrows streaked across the sky like shooting stars, howling sharply as they descended towards the demon riders on the ground. The demon riders, initially charging fiercely, suddenly sensed the disturbance from above. They looked up and saw innumerable light arrows pouring down like a torrential rain. The riders were filled with terror. Some tried to dodge, but the arrows were too dense to escape. Others raised their weapons to defend, only to be numbed by the powerful impact. Puff, puff, puff. The light arrows pierced into the bodies of the demon riders, and screams filled the air. The riders were impaled with arrows, resembling hedgehogs. Some fell dead on the spot, while others struggled in agony. Blood stained the demon palace, and the air was thick with the scent of blood. In less than 10 minutes, the enemies on the west side had been cut through by this fierce assault. The 50,000 enemy troops were rendered disorganized under the onslaught of the barrage. Those who were fortunate enough to survive were terrified by the horrifying scene, dropping their armor and fleeing in all directions. At this moment, the cultivators soaring in the sky suddenly felt their hearts constrict, as if their bodies were being crushed. Zheng Jia focused his eyes and realized it was the work of the 100-armed giant. Form the formation. 7 stars, 8 trigrams, sword formation. Countless swords split apart and instantly transformed into dazzling streams of light, shooting towards the surrounding cultivators. In the blink of an eye, over 10,000 cultivators were surrounded by the swords, forming a tightly knit defensive formation like hedgehogs. Meanwhile, the massive body of the 100-armed giant loomed in the distance, swinging its numerous void hands towards the cultivators. As the void hands approached, the air was compressed, producing a series of explosive sounds. However, when these void hands made contact with the 7 stars, 8 trigrams sword formation, they encountered fierce resistance. The swords, as if possessing sentience, lunged at the void hands. The sound of piercing filled the air as the 100-armed giant's hands were instantly riddled with blood holes, and blood gushed forth like a fountain. The giant with 100 arms roared in pain, furiously waving its massive hands in an attempt to break through the sword formation's defenses. However, the sword formation remained as solid as rock, and no matter how the giant attacked, it could not shake it in the slightest. Beast, die, above. The formidable hero sword god Li Chuangang commanded attention. With a swift motion of his hands, The legendary 10,000 swords technique was instantly activated. Thousands of swords radiated brilliant light, shooting towards the giant like meteors racing across the sky. The sword's momentum surged, seemingly capable of piercing through the heavens and the earth, delivering an immensely powerful strike. As the swarm of swords approached the enemy, they suddenly halted, as if an invisible force was preventing their advance. In the distance, the arriving Zhanlan timely reminded everyone. Another giant with 100 eyes is using telekinesis to stop the 10,000 swords technique's attack. Upon hearing this, Zhenya revealed a cold smile. Calmly, he directed the hero Li Chuangang. Open the heavenly gate with a single sword. Li Chuangang's eyes sharpened as he raised his sword high. Instantly, the tens of thousands of swords seemed to respond to a call, rapidly converging into an enormous sword. This giant sword exuded a destructive aura, and the space around its blade appeared to warp. Then, the giant sword descended from the sky with an unbeatable force, striking fiercely at the two giants. A deafening roar echoed, shaking the very ground. With a thunderous might, the giant sword cleaved both giants in half simultaneously. Their colossal bodies crashed to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. The battlefield was cleared, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Zhenya landed, expecting a hero's welcome. However, to his surprise, the crowd had gathered around Su Bai, seemingly observing his new troops. A wave of disappointment washed over him. Coupled with Zhanlan's betrayal, he clenched his fists. I will show you my true power, he declared, taking to the skies on his sword once more. On the ground, he shouted, everyone, wait here. I will capture that demon lord alone. He charged ahead with his army. However, this action did not garner much attention, as everyone's focus was on the new troops created by Su Bai. These are the Royal Cavalry, with 930,000 health, armed with implosion-penetrating cannons. A range of 60 kilometers, designed to target biological and structural entities. Su Bai introduced the freshly produced new troops. Athena looked puzzled. You say they are Royal Cavalry. But shouldn't they ride horses? Other beasts count too, but they are still walking on two legs. Su Bai replied, it's just a name, representing their speed of movement. Honestly, I'm not sure why they're called Royal Cavalry either. However, according to the setting, after the simultaneous enhancement of nanofibers, the capabilities of the Royal Cavalry have been significantly improved, allowing them to endure longer in intense battles. They advance like the wind among the infantry. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call them cavalry. Everyone seemed to understand, but still nodded. At this moment, Ing Kong and Zhanlan rushed over. Su Bai? No. The captain of the demon team, Zhenya, has gone after them alone. What does that mean? He is pursuing the enemy by himself. You should send some troops to follow him to avoid being lured into a trap. Su Bai chuckled. We are all adults. We take responsibility for our own actions. Why should I save him? Chapter 271. Challenge Su Bai? What do you have as a wager? Ignoring Zhanlan, Ing Kong tightly grasped Su Bai's hand and refused to let go. I beg you. You are the only one with the strength to send troops now. As she spoke, thunder shook 3 times, making people dizzy. Su Bai shook off her hand. I will only act according to my plan. Don't try to command me unless you have the strength to do so. This woman, although beautiful and imposing, is quite stubborn. Biting her lip, she said, all right. Then let's follow the rules of the multiverse battlefield. Whoever wins is the boss. I am challenging you now. Captain of the demon team, Su Bai? Su Bai laughed. What kind of nobody dares to challenge me? Meanwhile, the other team members laughed uproariously. What a joke. Su Bai defeated a blood formation with just one hero. Although she is an assassin from the Central State team with considerable strength, does she really qualify to challenge the captain of the demon team? Athena sneered, just you? Do you think you are qualified to challenge him? Also, if you want Captain Su Bai to send troops, what do you have as a wager? Li Kaidang also snorted coldly. You don't have any treasures to offer to Captain Su Bai. I see your only wager is this thunder pair, but the key is, among so many women, who doesn't have that? Another round of laughter erupted. I bet my whole self. Su Bai, as long as you win against me, I will do whatever you say. I will be your servant and work like a horse without a complaint. Do you dare accept my challenge? If I win, I won't make it hard for you. Just send troops to fill the vacuum behind. Su Bai looked up and down at the female assassin from the Central State team repeatedly. She had short hair and wore a high-tech tight suit, all in black. It felt like something out of a movie with a beautiful investigator. This outfit was probably also a high-tech product exchanged from the main god. To be your servant? I am not interested. If you want a challenge, go challenge someone else. I refuse your challenge. Su Bai smirked and rejected the challenge. What no one expected was that Ing Kong suddenly pulled Zhanlan over as well, including her. A master of telepathy awakening is an indispensable member of the team. Just the two of us. This should work, right? Su Bai remained disdainful. Forget it. It seems the Great Wall of all realms won't hold for more than a few days. Even if I manage to get the two of you. You can only help me with a few things in this limited time of 2 or 3 days. The key is, these 2 or 3 days don't seem worth disrupting my current plan. How can 2 or 3 days be satisfying? What a joke. The time is too short. It's not just 2 or 3 days. It's permanent. We have the tools in hand, as long as you agree. We can join the demon team and become your loyal servants. You only need to take on 20 of the responsibilities for the tasks of the Central Region team. Su Bai rubbed his chin. If it's permanent, then it seems acceptable. Ing Kong noticed Su Bai's impulsive expression and continued to persuade him. I heard you came from the Dragon Nation, right? Logically, you should join our Central Region team. I wonder what kind of misdeeds you committed to end up in the demon team. If we join you, you can also atone for your sins. Atone? Yes. That's right. The original national team might be assigned tasks to protect their own country, of course, in a broad sense. That means the Dragon Nation in countless parallel universes. Don't you want to return to your homeland for a visit? As soon as these words were spoken, many team members burst into laughter for the third time. After all, he is the dignified captain of the demon team, known for his ruthlessness. Would he care about his original homeland? As a result, this time, Su Bai agreed. With such strong power, if he could truly protect his homeland, then accepting this condition seems reasonable. On the other side, the captain of the Central Region team, Zhengya, was traveling on his sword. At this moment, accompanied by tens of thousands of cultivators, they had already broken through to the 12th level of the Demon Palace. The journey was incredibly smooth. Everywhere they went, there were sword mounts, countless swords embedded throughout the Demon Palace, proving their strength. The hero Han Li said, Master, shouldn't we divide our forces to guard the earlier levels? What if the enemy has secret passages, teleportation portals, or magical arrays to block our retreat? Zhengya had considered this issue as well. However, he trusted his first hero, the sword god Li Chuangang, whom he had nurtured. Although his base attributes might not be as strong as Su Bai's hero, the skills he manifested were based on the number of swords multiplied by the damage. It could be said that in the entire battlefield of all realms, encountering his former enemy, the demon team, would lead to their demise. Master, reports from ahead indicate we are about to enter the 13th level of the Demon Palace. There is another wave of enemy forces guarding it. Han Li reported the new situation. There's no need to panic. Set up the sword formation and strike first. Just like before. Good. At the critical point of the magical assault, countless Titan iron golems stood guard. The sword god, Li Chuanguang, made his move. With a cold gaze, he waved his long sword, and countless sword energies shot into the sky. In an instant, thousands of swords rained down upon the Titan iron golems like a torrential downpour. The golems quickly reacted, their skin rapidly hardening to become as tough as steel. When the cultivator's sword struck again, they were deflected, unable to inflict any effective damage on the Titan iron golems. Is he trying to open the gate to heaven with a single sword? Li Chuanguang questioned Zhengya, uncertain. No need for that. We are still some distance from the 18th level of the Demon Palace, and there's no need to expend too much energy. I'll take care of this battle. With that, Zhengya rolled up his sleeves and charged towards the Titan iron golems like a flash of lightning, his speed dazzling. He leaped high and kicked off with his right foot, executing the shattering sky kick. A meteoric foot strike burst through the void, crashing down on the Titan iron golems with unmatched force. A tremendous sound erupted, akin to a nuclear explosion, as a powerful shockwave spread outward. Over 100 Titan iron golems were directly hurled away by this terrifying force, many disintegrating in the explosion. Those that were fortunate enough not to be completely destroyed roared in anger and charged at Zhengya again. Unfazed, Zhengya's eyes gleamed with intense battle intent. He swung his fists fiercely, unleashing the star-plucking fist. Each punch shattered the void, and the immense power seemed capable of crushing the entire world. Under the relentless storm of attacks, the Titan iron golems stood no chance and were reduced to dust. In the blink of an eye, thousands of enemies had vanished into thin air. He let out a cold laugh. This level has been breached. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly fell from the sky, as if an immense force had yanked him down. The sky obstructing eye. In the void, a gravitational eye forcefully pulled him towards the ground. Reveal yourself, you evil beings. With a punch, an air explosion resonated. A humanoid figure slowly materialized in the void. The figure stood over 8 feet tall, broad-shouldered and muscular, resembling a robust man. However, his entire body was covered in pitch-black eyes. Zhengya, the hero, Han Li, flew in on his sword and approached Zhengya, producing a treasure from his hand, the demon illuminating mirror. Thousand-eyed giant. Strength. 1, 200, 000. Agility. 900, 000. Defense. 1, 100, 000. Health. 93, 000. Skill. Celestial Obstruction Eye. Manipulates gravity within a radius of 100 miles, inflicting immense pressure on enemies, rendering them immobile and slow. Reduces enemy movement speed by 50 and attack speed by 50. Flying units will be unable to fly. Skill. Illusionary Realm of the Thousand Eyes. The thousand-eyed giant casts an illusion, creating a vast illusionary domain covering hundreds of miles. Enemies within the domain will be thrown into chaos, with a 30 chance of misfiring attacks at their allies, and all enemies' attack accuracy decreased by 40. This skill lasts for 20 seconds, creating excellent opportunities for the Thousand-Eyed Giant and its allies. Skill: Meteoric Rain of Thousands of Eyes. The Thousand-Eyed Giant manipulates gravity to summon several massive meteors to fall from the sky, each causing area damage equal to 8 of the giant's maximum health at the impact site. Upon landing, the meteors create a brief shockwave that silences affected enemies for 2 seconds, preventing them from using skills. This skill effectively disrupts enemy clusters, causing chaos and damage. Skill: Mist of Illusory Eyes. The Thousand-Eyed Giant releases a mist that quickly spreads across the battlefield, covering a vast area. Enemies within the mist will be unable to distinguish friend from foe, with a 50 chance of redirecting their attacks towards their allies, and all enemy skill cooldowns extended by 50. Simultaneously, the mist provides concealment for the Thousand-Eyed Giant and its allies, reducing the damage they receive by 20. This skill lasts for 15 seconds, granting a tactical advantage to the Thousand-Eyed Giant. Han Li put away the demon-revealing mirror. Master, the main attack method is illusionary attacks. Zheng Jia chuckled coldly. Aside from the first move being useful against us, the other illusionary attacks can be countered with the evil breaking sword formation. These minor telekinetic attacks are hardly a threat. Understood. At the same time, the Thousand-Eyed Giant unleashed the Celestial Obstruction Eye again. Thousands of cultivators fell to the ground, unable to take flight once more. Following the orders, they formed the evil breaking sword formation. Zheng Jia commanded the sword god, Li Chungan, to attack the Thousand-Eyed Giant. Just because I couldn't defeat the Hundred-Eyed Giant before, does that mean I can't handle a stronger opponent now? How naive. However, Zheng Jia rubbed his chin, feeling something was off. For a boss-level enemy like this, they should typically be positioned in the rear to provide support. Why are they so close to the battlefield? If only Zhanlan were here, with her mental strength, she could see the current situation clearly. Unfortunately, that woman. Zheng Jia sighed again. In that moment of distraction, within the evil breaking sword formation, pairs of withered claws suddenly shot up from the ground without warning, tightly grasping each cultivator's thigh. The claws resembled dry branches, rough and cold, exuding a nauseating scent of decay. The practitioners were taken aback, instinctively wanting to break free from these monstrous grips. However, they soon realized that despite nearing a higher realm, they were currently afflicted by negative effects, their physical abilities reduced by 50, rendering them much weaker than before. Those monstrous hands seemed to possess immense strength, tightly gripping the practitioners' thighs and relentlessly pulling them down into the earth. The practitioners struggled desperately, feeling as though they were sinking into a quagmire. The more they fought, the greater the force pulling them down became. Meanwhile, they were horrified to discover that these monstrous hands were continuously absorbing their vitality. They could distinctly feel their life force flowing into those hands. The loss of vitality left them feeling weak and powerless, their complexions gradually turning pale. The hero Han Li was the first to catch on, his eyes widening as he shouted, "Not good. Those hands have the ability to absorb vitality." Zheng Jia also sensed something was amiss. It was indeed a trap. Currently, Li Chuangang was battling the giant with 1,000 eyes. He had to take matters into his own hands. After all, the hero Han Li he had nurtured was only suited for support. With a naturally weak foundation, he could only use his wits. It was unrealistic to confront such a brutal battle head-on. Enemies at 6 o'clock. Han Li bellowed. Zheng Jia roared in anger and shot forward like an arrow, throwing a punch towards the enemy position he had assessed. As his fist struck down, the previously withered claws instantly disintegrated into countless fine threads. The punch had missed entirely, and Zheng Jia felt a chill in his heart, sensing something was wrong. Before he could react, those fine threads surged towards him at an astonishing speed, wrapping around him like a massive spider's web. Zheng Jia struggled desperately, but the threads seemed to possess a life of their own, tightening their grip the more he fought. He could clearly feel that over time, his vitality was being continuously siphoned by these strange threads. Each drop of vitality lost diminished his strength further, leaving his body increasingly weak. At the same time, a chilling disturbance arose from somewhere underground in the distance. Countless desiccated hands, seemingly from hell, slowly crawled out, exuding a strong scent of decay. Following that, the giant with 1,000 hands emerged from the darkness, its body covered in withered, dead arms radiating an evil aura. Zheng Jia watched the scene before him, suddenly enlightened. He finally understood the enemy's scheme. It turned out that this was all a trap meticulously laid by the giant with 1,000 eyes. First drawing their attention with the monstrous hands, then seizing the opportunity to launch a surprise attack from below. Unfortunately, Zheng Jia realized this too late. At this moment, his vitality was nearly depleted, and his body was extremely weak. All I could feel was a heavy fog in my eyes, and my vision gradually blurred. On the other side, a team of assassins was wielding the dagger of Lady Su. This dagger is said to be a sacred relic used by Jing Ku to assassinate the king, a true artifact among artifacts. Its most astonishing feature is that it can inject a potent toxin into the enemy's body without any physical contact. The toxin is invisible and colorless, yet it can swiftly erode the enemy's veins and organs, leaving them defenseless. Moreover, this dagger possesses a mysterious summoning power when infused with spiritual energy. It can summon the spirit of Jing Ku. When Jing Ku unleashes the long scroll, the resulting damage can be catastrophic. One could say that this team is formidable, with both their commanding soldiers and individual combat abilities being at a global level. There is no need for specific troops. In a one-on-one duel, rest assured, I want to kill you. With cold light in her eyes, the assassin stared fiercely at Su Bai. In an instant, she split into countless clones and charged towards him. Su Bai couldn't help but shake his head, thinking about the audacity of the newcomer to challenge him. Frostmourne was summoned, unleashing a wave of icy sword energy. The clones quickly turned into ice sculptures. The onlookers exchanged glances, their faces a mix of shock and confusion. The appearance of Frostmourne was truly unexpected. If it really came from the continent of Azeroth, could it be that Su Bai had fully earned the favor of the undead? That seemed impossible. I had already maxed out my favor with the undead, and the Lich King only awarded me 5 ice dragons. How could such an artifact be obtained through favor? It must have been acquired by defeating the Lich King. Someone furrowed their brow, their voice trembling slightly. Not to mention how difficult it would be to annihilate the undead. Just obtaining this relic from them would be nearly an impossible task. Another person shook their head repeatedly, disbelief etched on their face. Perhaps Su Bai possessed some special ability or opportunity that we are unaware of. Someone proposed a hypothesis, but it was quickly dismissed. It can't be that easy. The magic of the undead is incredibly powerful, and even the strongest teams wouldn't dare to provoke them. How did Su Bai manage to do this? Although Su Bai had summoned Frostmourne, the assassin did not retreat. Instead, she teleported behind Su Bai. The dagger transformed into 2 green fangs, piercing through the air to strike at his waist. Unfortunately, in this extreme cold, Su Bai moved his thoughts, and the chilling aura of Frostmourne condensed into a solid ice wall, neutralizing the attack. This was merely a decoy. The real attack was coming from above. Come forth. Jing Ku. The long scroll, the end reveals the dagger. A beam of cold light descended from the sky. Su Bai remained calm and nonchalant, drawing out his Browning. Without even lifting his head, he fired a shot into the sky, breaking the opponent's move. However, Kong found her legs frozen by a vast expanse of ice. Unable to use her agility, Su Bai flicked his Browning and reloaded, slowly approaching her with the gun aimed at her mouth. Will you surrender? If not, you'll face the consequences. Kong didn't want to admit defeat, but she was acutely aware of the gap between her and Su Bai. The entire team, excluding the captain, attacking him all together might not even result in a tie. His strength was truly terrifying. Su Bai released the ice binding her legs, and Kong felt a bit indignant. Wiping her mouth with her sleeve, she declared, as long as you're willing to send troops, I'm ready to face your gunfire. Zhanlan echoed her sentiment. Even if it meant personal sacrifice, the team couldn't afford to lose Zhengya. Su Bai raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? Sending troops is possible, but we must defend the base now, so I can only dispatch a small team of 2,000. Then why are we still talking? Hurry up and send the troops. All right, 2 hours later, if everything is in order, I will begin the deployment. 2 hours later, Su Bai, Zhanlan, and Kong emerged from the military tent and stood before the neatly arranged troops. 800 heavy cavalry, 500 royal cavalry, 300 spearmen, and 200 female hunters made up the force, including anti-biological infantry, anti-armored infantry, anti-air infantry, and support infantry. Though not numerous, retrieving Zhengya should pose no significant problem. Su Bai had never intended to wipe out the enemy's stronghold in one go. He only sent these troops to humor the 2 women, acknowledging their significant contributions. After all, he wasn't heartless. Kong expressed concern. I want to accompany your troops. Su Bai raised an eyebrow. No, you are now under my command and must follow my orders. A bet is a bet. However, if you insist on going, I won't send any troops. How despicable. Zhanlan interjected, advising, it's better to listen to Su Bai. Our efforts should be focused on another battlefield. Changing the subject, Zhanlan looked at Su Bai. If we comply with your request, will you reinforce our troops? That can be considered. At the far end of the battlefield, Leng Hanyue pulled her golden dagger from a corpse, licking the blood off its blade. How splendid. The multiverse battlefield. It's just a pity about Team Zhongzhou, such fine vessels. Yet I had no chance to seize them before they fell into the trap and became a feast for the Demon Lord. At this moment, Leng Hanyue continuously shifts her possession, now having taken control of a high-ranking race's body. 2 hours earlier, Because this world lies at the convergence point of various parallel universes, serving as a crucial checkpoint, the battles here resonate through cosmic wavelengths to every parallel universe. The technologically advanced Divine Clan quickly detected anomalies and dispatched a powerful fleet for scientific investigation. As the fleet landed and the Divine Clan's elders set foot on the multiverse battlefield, the lurking Lung Han Yu dashed forward, activating her possession ability, instantly seizing control of the elder's body. Now, the entire Divine Clan fleet is under her command, though she cannot control all members of the Divine Clan. With a little cunning, these powerful alien races can be turned to her advantage. Subsequently, the fleet's carriers engage the races of the multiverse battlefield, allowing Lung Han Yu to effortlessly amass vast experience, various skills, talents, and even weapons and equipment. Leveraging this momentum, she struck the Blood Dragon King from behind. Surprisingly, the Blood Dragon King proved formidable, defeating the Divine Clan, yet she managed to benefit by possessing the Blood Dragon King. Now, on the surface of the multiverse battlefield, she is an invincible presence. Originally, she intended to use the Blood Dragon King to attack Su Bai and his allies to seize their abilities. However, Lung Han Yu remains somewhat rational. After all, Su Bai's group is still guarding the multiverse Great Wall, and beneath this battlefield lies an even more powerful force. Eliminating Su Bai's team now would leave her alone to defend the Great Wall, a prospect she finds more unbearable than death, as she has never been one to follow rules. Instead, by using the Blood Dragon King to enter the underground demon palace, there's a chance to seize the demon lord's body. When that happens, she will reign supreme over the multiverse battlefield, beyond even the system's control. The fate of countless parallel universes would rest solely in her hands. Just imagining this feeling brings immense exhilaration. Chapter 274, Psychic Endgame. Cyclops vs. Thousand-Eyed Giant. Flying Lizard Tanks battle the Thousand-Handed Giant. Blood Dragons roar. The underworld opens. Ahaha. The demon palace gates are open. Now, by staying put and seizing the opportunity to take the demon lord's body, Su Bai and Zheng Jia will be effortlessly defeated. Bloodlight spilled down as a red pentagram inscribed deep grooves in the ground. From within, two channels separating Yin and Yang reopened. Next, let the Blood Dragon Clan and the remaining leaders of the 12 Beast Kings prepare for an attack. After all, with the Blood Dragon's true eye in hand, once the battle begins, the victor will reap all rewards while I wait in the shadows. The Fan Wind Legion started advancing downward. Previously, the monsters eliminated by Zheng Jia had reclaimed several layers of the magical attack front, and their defenses had been significantly strengthened. The battle commenced. Countless Titan metal beasts, clad in armor, blocked the way forward. Su Bai knew these monsters wouldn't be too difficult to deal with. If Zheng Jia had passed through, he certainly could too. Moreover, he had to attack faster than the enemy to showcase the true power of Red Alert. The Royal Cavalry set up machine guns, while various formations of spear wielders, cavalry, and railgun soldiers opened fire together. In an instant, the battlefield was illuminated by flickering lasers and surging energy. The dark underground palace was quickly conquered by dazzling beams of light, resembling a massive LED bulb that lit up the entire level. Those thick-skinned Titan metal beasts were unable to withstand the bombardment from various exotic energy weapons. Their defenses were indeed formidable. But Su Bai's attacks were even more ferocious and powerful, far surpassing those of Zheng Jia's cultivators. After just one round of attacks, tens of thousands of Titan trolls were instantly annihilated. With the ability to enhance his soldiers with buffs, the captains of the original Celestial Alliance were able to perceive the battlefield situation through telepathy. Watching the Titan metal beasts fall one by one, they felt a mix of emotions, shock, and disbelief. Su Bai's human-shaped troops clearly exceeded Zheng Jia's cultivators in strength. Previously, when they first entered the Demon Palace and encountered elite-level Titan metal beasts, they often had to deploy thousands of their own forces for a coordinated assault. These beasts could be considered among the most powerful monsters in the palace. And now, they had all become souls beneath Su Bai's gun. At that moment, Lung Hanyue also sensed the situation. Damn it, you're pushing through the map so quickly, Su Bai. Luckily, your current enemy isn't me, or I would really be in trouble. Since they were all formidable opponents, Lung Hanyue felt even more excited, as he aimed to seize the Demon Lord's body, defeat Su Bai, and control his powerful forces. However, Su Bai was somewhat dissatisfied with the speed of the attacks, especially with Zhan Lan and Ing Kong tugging at his arms and urging him to quicken his pace or increase their numbers. It was getting a bit annoying for Su Bai. Female Hunter assist. The nanorobot launchers began to fire in unison. With each round of bombardment, clouds of nanorobots swirled in the air, repairing the battlefield. The cavalry, royal knights, and a series of other units surged forward fiercely, continuously restored by healing resources. In less than 10 minutes, this layer of enemies had been cleared by Su Bai. This demonstrates the powerful capability of the Huntress to heal while fighting. Another 20 minutes passed, and yet another layer of enemies was eliminated. Along the way, these monsters dropped a massive amount of experience points and breakthrough rewards. Although Zheng Ye had already achieved a breakthrough once, as long as the monsters were reoccupied, others could also receive this reward upon their breakthroughs. Congratulations on breaking through to level 12 of the Demon Palace. Overall strength of combat units increased by 100, Commander's strength increased by 200. Please continue to break through to level 13. Su Bai originally planned to retreat after reaching level 12, having advanced 4 levels consecutively from level 8. The rewards had increased from a strength boost of 10, 20, 40, to now doubling. It could be said that the more battles fought, the stronger the forces became. Interestingly, as they progressed deeper, the casualties among the troops decreased. The infantry's attack power was not particularly high, yet they had now turned into living artillery. It seemed he was being pushed to continue advancing. Shake off the 2 big guys on either side. Stop pulling. If you keep pulling, you'll rip it off. As long as you both behave, I want to withdraw the troops. With a wave of his hand, over 300 one-eyed armored giants from the armored vehicle factory began to move forward. Meanwhile, another type of armored unit from the faction was ready, the flying lizard launch tank. This tank had powerful anti-armor capabilities and could launch a drone to continue fighting once it was destroyed. It was like a cockroach that could be killed. These tanks continued to provide support as well, adding another 500 armored units. They should be able to push through 2 more layers without issue. Just then, a sudden surge of energy stirred within him, as if a long-disconnected power had finally reconnected. It was the million-strong army he had deployed beneath the Great Wall of all realms. These troops had previously entered the Demon Palace, but could only be commanded without the ability to recall them, effectively rendering them lost. However now, that broken state had instantly restored. Su Bai couldn't quite understand what had happened, but he knew that if he wanted to, he could redirect that million-strong army in an instant to flatten the Demon Palace. However, the situation on the ground was unclear. If he redirected the army back, the Great Wall of all realms would be left undefended. Once the enemy launched an attack, the consequences would be unimaginable. It's better to rely on the faction of the Brahmin to counter the Demon Lord. After all, there's no rush now. As long as we hold steady, we can win. On the front line of the 13th layer, the 1,000-hand giant collaborated with the 1,000-eye giant to continuously wear down Su Bai's soldiers. In the distance, thick dust rolled as the one-eyed armored giant concentrated fire on the 1,000-eye giant. Under a round of bombardment, many eyes on the 1,000-eye giant were instantly blinded. Seeing this scene, Su Bai couldn't help but laugh. This 1,000-eye giant was soon to be reduced to a one-eyed creature. Meanwhile, the 1,000-hand giant extended its withered hands from beneath the ground, trying to obstruct the movement of the one-eyed giant. Tanks coming from the rear crushed these hands one by one. Yet, many still gathered to halt the tanks, their tracks spinning in place while smoke billowed from the engines. Su Bai stroked his chin. He hadn't expected to encounter this here on the 13th layer, an enhanced variant of the 100-eyed giant he had seen before. It seemed to be getting increasingly difficult. He felt his own progress slowing down. He estimated that Zheng Ye was definitely unable to pass through. Now there were only 2 possibilities. Either Zheng Ye was surrounded and had taken refuge in a corner of the 13th layer, trembling in defense, or he had fallen in battle. However, specifics could only be determined after a thorough search of this layer. Chapter 275. Are your soldiers like hens laying eggs? Why are there more and more? At that moment, the withered hands on the ground continued to crush the flying lizard tanks. Some tanks were emitting smoke heavily, and their armor began to dent. This clearly demonstrated the immense power exerted by the 1,000-hand giant. Moreover, the iron cavalry in front of him had become disordered, attacking each other. Su Bai raised an eyebrow. He hadn't expected the 1,000-eyed giant to also wield telekinetic attacks. It was time to deal with it first. After all, Su Bai was currently under dual control. The 1,000-hand giant controlled his movement and increased damage, while the 1,000-eyed giant caused his troops to attack each other. The one-eyed armored giant, unaffected by the chaos, swiftly aimed its cannon at the 1,000-eyed giant. Boom! Another round of shelling lit up the underground palace as bright as day. Su Bai also received a notification sound. All troops' confusion has been lifted. Killing the Demon Lord's Guardian increases mental immunity by 300 after gaining mental immunity. The ghostly hands entangling the infantry and tanks seemed to weaken significantly. The flying lizard tanks managed to break free from some of the ghostly hands. Could it be that these ghostly hands were not real entities, but rather the manifestation of the fear power from the 1,000-hand giant? With the rise in his troops' mental resistance, the opposing control skills were correspondingly weakened. A fierce wind swept through. In the distance, countless dark figures coalesced into a pair of giant hands rushing towards Su Bai. The power of the multi-armed giant could actually traverse space, demonstrating the ability to locate and command, before Su Bai could retaliate. Ing Kong and Zhan Lan on both sides leaped up immediately, each unleashing their ultimate skills to sever the attack. The two shook the thunder and landed simultaneously, protecting Su Bai in front of him. How could this be? The enemy's attack crossed through space? How come I have never encountered such a situation before? Su Bai simply said calmly, that multi-eyed giant is just struggling in its death throes. It will perish at my hands in less than 10 seconds. In the midst of the conversation, kill the Demon Lord's Guardian and gain the Ghost Shadow Hand skill. Note, after the entire army attacks the enemy, it will inflict an additional Ghost Hand Seal damage on the enemy, dealing damage equal to 0.5 of their own strength, and causing a slowdown effect on the opponent for 1 second. This Ghost Shadow Hand skill is quite useful. After the army attacks the enemy, it can deal an additional Ghost Hand Seal damage and slow them down. That's good. So, does that mean we can search for Captain Zhengye now? Search? Sorry. I've already searched the earlier layers. We are now in the deep area. Splitting the troops to search would damage our battle strength. If you want to search, you can send your own troops. If you agree, we will dispatch our forces without affecting your strategy, Zhanlan said. Feel free, Su Bai said generously. After all, he had obtained the body. It didn't matter if the soul ran away. He continued to advance, entering the 14th layer of the Demon Palace. As soon as he entered, he was greeted by a screen full of magical enemies. Wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. All kinds of elemental spells were coming at him. It seemed that, due to the failure to defend the 13th layer, the enemies on the 14th layer had directly doubled their forces. There were many of them, and they were all ranged attackers, seemingly preparing for a surprise attack. Faced with this massive barrage of magical attacks, a smile involuntarily crept onto Su Bai's lips. Interesting. Just in time, my soldiers haven't really died yet. Let me see the multiple forms of the Fan Wind soldiers this time. At the same time, the entire army charged forward, exchanging attacks with the enemy. The Demon Lord laughed upon seeing this. Brave but foolish. Just a commoner. Let our undead spirits focus fire on the enemy and annihilate them all. The Demon Lord knew best that the 14th layer was the domain of the undead army. As one of his trusted generals, his troops possessed incredible powers, mastering the forces of wind, fire, thunder, and the natural elements. Moreover, each magical attack could unleash damage from the 5 elements of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth, creating a cycle of elemental interactions. Every attack causes 5 times the damage, which is further intensified due to countering effects. It can be said that no one in the entire battlefield understands magic better than he does. The enemies that take damage will transition from a frozen state to a burning state, then to a drowning state, followed by a vegetative state, and finally turn into metallic dust and soil. This means that the damage is not only immense, but also extremely painful and brutal. Even though many units are fearless in battle, some have defied the commander's orders and fled. Soon, Su Bai's troops began to fall, but this death was somewhat peculiar. Even the Demon Lord watching the war was perplexed. The fallen cavalry, royal guards, and huntresses lay on the ground, while a holy light flashed in the void. These deceased units resurrected at their original spots, laying a massive egg in the process. With a series of popping sounds, the demon warriors armed with various weapons charged towards the necromancer's magic group. At this moment, the targets of the magic group immediately shifted to the melee-charging demon warriors, significantly reducing the pressure on the units behind. They focused their fire on the magic group again, severely damaging 10 of the opponent's overall combat power. Although many demon warriors also perished, they were granted the blessing of rebirth and continued to charge at the magic group, causing some casualties among the frontline mages. Meanwhile, Su Bai's flying lizard missile tanks, after being blown up, launched drones that continued to inflict damage on the magic group. The Demon Lord was stunned. He never expected the situation to turn out like this. Clearly, Su Bai's troops had been taken down one by one. Yet they kept multiplying as if they were laying eggs like a hen. The most troublesome aspect for the necromancer commanding this battle was that he was on the verge of claiming victory. The enemy units were inexplicably resurrecting, dying, and then resurrecting again, plus laying eggs. Each unit effectively had the life force of 3 units. It was utterly maddening. Amidst the shock of the Demon Lord and the necromancer, Su Bai felt quite at ease. He made a simple comparison. This layer of enemies, despite their high damage and explosive power, had strengths, but also weaknesses compared to the previous layer. Their physical robustness was lacking. The magic group's shortcomings included low health, weak strength, and low agility, relying entirely on concentrated firepower. However, Su Bai had plundered numerous races from various realms, gaining not only the power of rebirth, but also the ability to lay eggs from the demon warriors. As soon as the troops are defeated, a reverse demon egg will automatically emerge. It hatches in an extremely short time. By the time it breaks free from the shell, a powerful reverse demon warrior can join the battle. The combat level of the reverse demon warriors themselves is average. However, they are bolstered by Su Bai, who has plundered significant combat power from other races. This creates a situation where the tide can turn. Chapter 276. the great breakthrough of the magic core, successfully breached the 14th level of the Demon Palace. Charge forward and engage in close-range combat with the enemy. If they don't charge now, while they temporarily hold the advantage on the battlefield, they risk losing it when the reverse demons are wiped out and the battlefield shifts back to a disadvantageous position. Facing the relentless bombardment of elemental spells, the reverse demons endure excruciating pain and desperately charge forward. They continuously pour in and expand the breach created earlier by the magic core. The remaining cavalry, royal knights, pike soldiers, and a series of subordinate troops also rush in. It's important to note that the magic core requires chanting time to cast spells. The released elemental magic has a duration, allowing for a continuous assault that masks the intervals between attacks. However, now that they have entered the enemy's territory, the situation has changed. While you require 5 seconds to chant your spell, I can take down 5 of you in 1 second. After all, a gun is fast beyond 7 steps. And within 7 steps, it is both accurate and quick. Zhanlan and Ing Kong, who were watching the battle with Su Bai, were astonished by this turnaround. They had assumed that Su Bai would retreat to the 13th level to reinforce his troops. This way, their forces could carefully search for Zhang Ye's whereabouts on the 13th level without worrying about enemy attacks. Yet, reality often exceeded their expectations. Even the captain, a skilled swordsman, could only maintain a sword formation in the face of the magic core's bombardment. If he attacked, a gap would appear in the formation. Watching the enemy fall in large numbers, Su Bai nodded in satisfaction. Of course, if he didn't continue sending troops. This current advantage might not withstand the assault from the 15th level of the Demon Palace. He still needed to reinforce his forces and expand his gains. To expedite troop reinforcement, 200 prepared wolf vehicles had already assembled. More Vangfeng infantry entered them, forming a long snake-like transport convoy throughout the Demon Palace. Soon, 80 of the enemy magic core had been annihilated, leaving only a few soldiers huddled together, forming a massive magical shield to block artillery fire. Amidst this, the undead demon could only chant spells to summon the Skeleton King from Hell to continuously reinforce the front line and prevent encirclement. However, with the arrival of the wolf vehicles, this maintenance would not last long. With a sharp crack, the magical shield shattered, and the undead demon lord along with his guards instantly became prey for the Vangfeng troops. Kill the demon lord and obtain the magical shield skill. Note, the entire troop activates a layer of magical shield that absorbs damage every 30 minutes. During the shield's activation, the troop is immune to damage. Magical shield health, 300,000. A magical shield with 300,000 health? Not bad, this skill. Right now, my troops need more defense and more health. There's no choice. By the 14th layer, the enemy's relentless bombardment was already capable of taking down the Vangfeng troops. This kind of power far exceeded any previous beings, except for aliens. After a 2-hour rest, the troop was replenished to 3,000 men. With the number of armored units reaching 1,000, Su Bai exhaled a sigh of relief. Let's continue. Ing Kong and Zhanlan gasped in surprise. Huh? We have to continue? Everyone should take a break. Of course, Su Bai did not heed their advice and headed towards the 15th layer. Meanwhile, in another military tent, Athena took a sip of hot tea, nearly burning her mouth. The recent battle had been incredibly intense. As a combat analyst and battlefield observer, she was astonished by Su Bai's previous battle. Li Kaitang licked her lips, thinking about how they turned the tide and broke the sorcerer's formation. Su Bai's troops were so resilient. If I had such a troop at that time. No, just having this 1,000 man unit. What could the blood demon formation do to me? Athena and the other squad members agreed with this view. How could they have been so blind back then, not recognizing the situation? They had been misled by the captain of the Zhongzhou team, Zhengya. In the Demon Palace's 18th layer, the demon lord crushed the skeleton jade in his hand. A murderous aura condensing within the hall. No living being dared to make a sound. It was as silent as a cicada in winter. This undead demon lord was truly useless. What a waste. It seems I will have to take matters into my own hands. As he spoke, the demon lord twisted 3 blood beads from his hand and directly embedded them into the crown of a nearby subordinate's head. Instantly, the ugly body of the evil beast king began to twist and contort. There were sounds of bones cracking and reshaping. The evil beast king sprouted a pair of bony wings from his back, and bones began to protrude from within his body, eventually covering his skin, transforming him into a skeletal beast king. Su Bai, you may have the ability to resurrect, but so do I. Go, beast king, annihilate Su Bai on the 15th layer. Thank you for the demon lord's guidance. I will certainly bring Su Bai's head to you. The beast king stepped out of the demon lord's hall. Attempting to harness the power given by the dark lord, he exerted force, condensing all the evil energy into his left hand. With a thunderous crash, it smashed down to the ground, and in an instant, thousands of Blood Demon leaders emerged from underground. The Beast King gasped in shock. Blood Demon leaders. These are high-level troops from the demon realm. I, a mere Beast King who can only muddle through the myriad realms, actually have the power to summon them. Incredible. This is truly powerful. All Blood Demons, follow my command. Let us head to the 15th floor and capture Subai. Meanwhile, on Subai's side, he stepped out of the military tent, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Turning back, he saw that Kong and Zhang Lan had already fallen asleep. He could now inspect the latest armored units from the Fanteon unit. Subai arrived at the armored vehicle workshop. A vehicle similar to a multifunctional infantry carrier had just come off the production line. The Thunderbird anti-air drone was ready to be deployed, as his current anti-air capabilities were still relatively weak. If the enemy deployed all their air forces, it would be quite overwhelming. The Thunderbird drone also had another advantage: AI control, eliminating the need for human operation, thus being immune to telekinetic attacks. After entering the battlefield of myriad realms, especially in the previous layer's challenges against the magic group, Subai noticed that both the Thousand-Hand Giant and the Thousand-Eyed Giant had changed completely from before. They were now mixed attack units, focusing on advantage combinations. For instance, the magic group utilized all attribute magical attacks. The Thousand-Eyed Giant and Thousand-Hand Giant were dual control units. If his own troops couldn't be more comprehensive, then as soon as the enemy exploited a weakness, they could quickly turn the tables. Thus, drones combined with anti-air capabilities formed a solid strategy. Chapter 277. Sorry, you become stronger when you meet strong opponents. I become even stronger when facing strong foes. Where on earth is the captain? Zhang Lan and Kong searched every corner of the 13th floor, but no matter how hard they looked, they couldn't find any clues about Zhengya. Their expressions were filled with worry, looking haggard. They placed all their hopes on Subai. Perhaps the 14th or 15th floor held the clues to Zhengya. On Subai's side, the troops gathered. He first sent the previously hatched reverse demon warriors into the 15th floor to draw fire, while his main force would enter in the second wave. Surprisingly, once they entered the 15th floor, a storm of attacks did not occur. Looking up, the space was empty. In the distance, a massive checkpoint appeared, and only one enemy guarded the stronghold. Subai smiled. An empty city strategy? I am not a strategist. I am a brave warrior. So let me charge in and explore the situation. The warriors surged towards the checkpoint, forming a fierce formation. In a daze, from afar, at the checkpoint, beams of bloody light shot up into the sky, filling the air like a swarm of blood bats, resembling a sea of blood in the sky, rising and falling. When the brave warriors reached the checkpoint, these blood bats sensed the commotion and swooped down in waves to attack. Ha ha ha, surrender in the sea of blood. The Beast King laughed heartily. With a wave of his hand, he unleashed a wave of death and decay, causing corrupted giants to spawn before the checkpoint, charging towards the brave warriors. This is bad. The enemy indeed has traps. Quickly, let the troops retreat to the 14th level. Our two forces will enter the 14th level shortly. You hold your ground for now. Seeing this scene, the blue-skied commander realized the dangers of the 15th level and ordered Subai to step back. However, halfway through, he realized his words were untenable because these ordinary attacking warriors had actually reached the checkpoint and begun to damage the city gates. What is this? Upon closer observation, the reason became clear. After being attacked, each warrior was enveloped in a yellow-hued shell, a magical shield. Could this be an ability obtained from a raiding tribe or from passing the checkpoint? After entering the Magic Palace, from the 1st to the 8th checkpoint, these teams had gained a power boost of 30, an agility boost of 20, and resistance attributes. The most powerful was at the 8th level, where Zhengya defeated the boss guarding the checkpoint, and everyone received the Wind Shadow Shield, which, when activated, increased single-target magical evasion by 10, usable only by the commander. These were individual yellow magical shield shells, quite exaggerated. Are we having a party here? After a series of ordinary attacks, the corrupted giants stationed at the city wall suffered thousands of casualties. In fact, these corrupted giants were quite formidable. Upon contact with the enemy, they left wounds that continuously eroded and expanded on their foes, and no resistance to poison could withstand it. It could be said to be a slow but lethal damage. An unsolvable threat. Yet unexpectedly, the magical shield that Subai obtained from the previous level absorbed the damage from the corrupted giants' attacks instantly and nullified the corruption effects. Even the descending blood demons could not break through the magical shield so quickly. The Beast King on the city wall immediately changed his attack strategy, commanding the blood demons in the sky to concentrate their attacks, picking off the warriors one by one. The blood demon executed a series of impressive maneuvers in the air, unleashing various skills and damage upon a reverse warrior. A crisp cracking sound echoed as the magical shield on the reverse warrior shattered. In the next round of attacks, this unfortunate soul was instantly taken down. This tactic was indeed quite effective, but the downside was that the killing speed was too slow. After all, the number of reverse demons was as high as 1,000. Even if each one were to be killed instantly, it would still take more than 10 minutes. Furthermore, it was practically impossible to eliminate one every second. The fastest it could be done would take 5 to 6 seconds per demon. Booming sounds signaled the arrival of the second wave of troops from afar, reaching the 15th level. The cavalry immediately sprang into action, firing into the sky as lines of fire shot upward, weaving into a massive net of firepower. Although there were numerous blood demons in the sky, they had nowhere to escape in the face of this dense fire network. Many blood demons were hit and fell from the sky. Moreover, this vast net of firepower did not cease its advance. It continued to push forward and gradually constrict, much like a fishing net surrounding a school of fish. In just 3 minutes, over 500 blood demons were shot down, their bodies and blood littering the ground. However, as these blood demons landed, their bodies quickly melted into puddles of blood that spread out, covering the infantry units. Then, an astonishing scene unfolded. The skin of these infantry soldiers began to peel away, revealing bright red muscle tissue underneath. Their expressions turned agonizing, as if they were enduring immense torture. They collapsed to the ground, rolling and struggling, emitting painful groans. After a while, these skinned infantry stood up again, weapons in hand, their eyes filled with murderous intent. But unlike before, they no longer attacked the enemies ahead. Instead, they turned and launched an assault on the troops behind Subai. Subai took a deep breath. Damn it, their flying units can also engage in amphibious operations. Fortunately, the Thunderbird unmanned anti-aircraft vehicles were already prepared. The infantry retreated, and the mechanical anti-aircraft vehicles took their place. The Thunderbird unmanned anti-aircraft vehicles quickly reached the front lines, firing at the sky with astonishing speed. The firepower of these weapons far exceeded that of the cavalry's firearms, and their might was incomparable. Each shot was like a thunderclap, causing enemy forces to rain down like raindrops, staining the ground with blood. Seeing this scene, the Beast King couldn't help but smile. The Blood Demon Army, given to me by the Demon Lord, grows stronger against powerful foes. Don't think you can win just by instantly killing these blood demons. Blood demons fall like rain and control those enemy units with the fury of a storm. The blood demons in the sky descended like a torrential downpour. At the same time, the droplets also fell on the Thunderbird air defense drone. Soon, the entire defense vehicle turned into a blood-soaked machine. However, the control unit that the Beast King mentioned did not materialize. What is going on? Of course, he didn't know that unmanned devices are immune to mind control. The blood demon's blood orbs corrode in the same way. Invading a silicon-based life form as a carbon-based one is futile. Instead, the Thunderbird drone became braver in battle, swiftly eliminating 30,000 blood demons in just 3 minutes. Chapter 278. The Fury support vehicle goes offline, immediately joins the battle on the other side. Zhan Lan and Ing Kong continued to accompany Su Bai in inspecting the tank factory. At this moment, the network core was also completed. It could produce T2 level tanks for the Explosive Winds faction. Su Bai looked around and focused on the Fury support vehicle. This device, once deployed, could disrupt the enemy's mind with special rays, causing both sides to attack each other indiscriminately. Perfect. It's only fair. You just control my units. And now I will control yours. After all, the enemy's aerial units have all been taken down, leaving only the corrupted giants fighting on the ground. The demon warriors had already exerted quite a bit of effort and needed to rotate for a break. It would also allow them to fight among themselves for a while. With this in mind, Su Bai decisively ordered over 100 Fury support vehicles. The sky turned a bright red. This was not caused by the blood demons stirring trouble above, but was the result of explosions from the shells fired by the Thunderbird. The Beast King panicked. The troops provided by the Demon Lord couldn't stop Su Bai's assault. He gasped in shock. This was an amphibious combat unit. It seemed that since the trump card was ineffective, a real contest of strength was necessary. The Demon Lord gave him 3 blood pills. The first enhanced his body. The second allowed him to conjure a blood demon army. Therefore, the third was to strengthen his own troops. 5 elements mysterious domain. Activate. In the twist of fate, gold, wood, water, fire, and earth converged to form 5 pitch-black giant gates. From within, various magical skeletons rushed out. Yellow blade skeletons, vine skeletons, ice skeletons, flame skeletons, and rock skeletons. Each represented its own attribute, and the damage from these attributes was 1,000 times that of a normal attack. The last blood pill floated up and quickly flew to the top of the 5-element skeletons. With a bang, the blood pill was crushed. Surprisingly, the small pill contained an immeasurable amount of blood pouring down from the sky. The 5-element skeletons were thoroughly drenched in a chilling sensation. As the blood water dissipated, the differently colored 5-element skeletons were unified and painted red. Their power increased by another 300. After completing these actions, the Beast King did not rush to attack. Instead, He continuously expanded his forces, waiting until he reached his limit before launching a wave of rush to annihilate the army. In fact, he indeed possessed such strength. The red skeletons, constantly affected by the blood source curse, had their bones grow stiffer. Long bone spurs emerged from their elbows, wrists, and knees, transforming their entire bodies into spiny blood skeletons. Not only was their attack power formidable, but their reflective damage attributes also began to manifest. On the 18th floor of the Demon Palace, two Rhino War gods dragged Zhenya before the Demon Lord as if he were a dead dog, still unconscious. The surrounding elite began to discuss how to deal with him. Why not execute him on the spot? Isn't that too lenient? I suggest using our ant clan's 10,000 ants eroding elephants technique to gnaw him down to bones bit by bit. That's not cruel enough. Better to use my flame demon whip to torture him. Each strike will leave endless scars on his soul, a feeling he will never forget. What exactly is the whip you are using? Are you kidding? Hand him over to you? What if you let him go? The mother of Succubi chuckled. The flame demon emperor, beside her, was furious and smashed the floor, causing magma to burst forth. You fiery fool. Do you believe I'll turn you to ashes if you try? The two stood at odds, ready to clash. Enough. Killing him is still too cheap. This man is handed over to you, mother of Succubi. Use your powerful brainwashing to control him and turn him against humanity. Use barbarians to counter barbarians. As you command. My lord. The mother of Succubi licked her fingers and gently stroked Zhengya's forehead. Suddenly, a force from the void surged in, her finger piercing through his scalp and into his brain. A wave of excruciating pain erupted from his mind. Zhengya, still in a coma, quickly awakened with a loud scream, followed by heart-wrenching cries of pain. However, this agony only elicited hearty laughter from the surrounding elites. At the 15th level checkpoint, annihilate Subai, roared the blood skeletons, surging forth like a tide from the checkpoint. Amidst the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves, thousands had already emerged. The reverse demons, who were regrouping with Subai's vanguard, immediately clashed. The reverse demons charged fearlessly toward the blood skeletons. However, the enhanced bodies and terrifying attributes of the blood skeletons rendered the reverse demons' attacks utterly powerless. The yellow bone knife in the hands of the yellow-skinned skeleton glimmered with an eerie light, each swing carrying immense power. The opposing demons raised their shields in an attempt to resist, but the shields shattered instantly, and the golden bone knife descended, cleaving the demons in half. The disparity in strength was terrifying. The vine skeleton's tendrils writhed like agile snakes, quickly ensnaring the bodies of the opposing demons. The demons struggled desperately, but could not break free from the resilient binds. As the tendrils tightened, the sound of their bones snapping echoed chillingly, blood gushed from their mouths, and life faded away in an instant. The icy breath of the ice skeleton instantly froze the demons into ice sculptures. Their movements became sluggish, and their eyes were filled with fear. The blood skeletons ruthlessly charged forward, shattering the ice sculptures with their weapons, causing the demons' bodies to break into countless ice shards. The flames spewed from the mouth of the fire skeleton enveloped the demons like hellfire. The demons writhed in agony amidst the flames, letting out piercing screams. Their skin was scorched, and their bodies gradually turned to ash. The stone skeleton barreled through with immense strength and a sturdy body. The attacks of the blood skeletons were like an unstoppable torrent, leaving the demons powerless against such overwhelming force. Their numbers dwindled rapidly, and the battlefield was littered with the corpses and blood of the demons. For the first time, the members of the original Alliance team were horrified to witness how quickly Subai's forces were defeated. Li Kaitang widened her eyes, her voice trembling as she said, "How is this possible? Lord Subai's troops have always been undefeated. The capabilities of those units are extraordinary and highly damaging. No matter what enemies they face, they can handle them with ease. How could they suffer such a catastrophic defeat here?" Athena was equally incredulous, murmuring to herself, fighting through layer by layer. Lord Subai has overcome countless challenges. Those formidable enemies were powerless against Lord Subai's units. We all thought victory was in sight, but now this situation. Chapter 279. Chaos approaches. No one can defend. The blood skeletons seem to have entered a realm without resistance, swiftly defeating the opposing demon warriors. Hehe. Subai die? The Beast King waved his hand again, summoning another wave of blood skeletons from behind. This time, he was determined to wipe out the enemy in one go. However, before they could reach the artillery formation composed of cavalry and one-eyed armored giants, a portion of the blood skeletons ahead suddenly halted, drawing their bloodbone blades. They unleashed damage infused with elemental powers against their own teammates. A slash of blood left an afterimage, crashing down with elemental force, instantly turning teammates into ice shards. Some exploded into flames and turned into dust on the spot. Chaos was imminent. The entire front was thrown into disorder. The blood skeletons were unexpectedly in chaos. turning against each other in a brutal fight. The energies of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth erupted like dazzling fireworks amidst the chaos. Huh. The Beast King was puzzled. What on earth was happening? Why were his own troops turning against one another? Retreat. We must retreat first. Being cautious, he ordered his troops to fall back temporarily. He planned to launch another attack once he fully grasped the enemy's intelligence. Unfortunately, the first wave of chaotic troops had already lost control. The Beast King had no command authority and could only watch helplessly as his soldiers fought to the death, one by one collapsing to the ground. Eventually, only a small group of troops remained somewhat coherent, but they still could not escape the fate of death. The barrage of attacks from the opposing camp obliterated them completely. In this first wave, the Beast King had sent out 30,000 blood skeletons, and there were no survivors. Seeing this scene, the Beast King felt a chill run down his spine. How could this be? Just moments ago, his troops had fought valiantly, annihilating the enemy forces. Now they were in disarray, refusing to follow orders. What had gone wrong? He squinted, deep in thought, but the battlefield offered him no time for analysis. The support vehicles of the aggressors returned from deployment mode and advanced another 500 meters, redeploying their forces. As a result, the blood skeletons on the outer edge began to stab their own comrades, causing waves of small-scale chaos. It was at this moment that the Beast King realized the issue. It was the metallic vehicles used by the enemy. They had a disorienting effect on his troops, causing them to lose their minds and attack aimlessly. This was terrifying. These humans were truly frightening. I am fighting against such a demon. We must retreat to the 16th level. Hold the line at the entrance. The Beast King swallowed hard, his voice trembling. All troops, hold this position. He prepared to move towards the 16th level. Just as he stepped down from the city tower, out of nowhere, a blood skeleton beside him raised its bone blade. With one swift strike, it landed solidly on his shoulder. Although the wound was not severe, it immobilized him. He shouted in alarm, "Not good. The enemy's vehicles have reached the attack range within the pass." Forcing himself free from the binding vines, he noticed 5 or 6 more blood skeletons charging at him. With a flash of his golden axe, the Beast King drew it and braced himself to block the incoming attack. The blood skeleton's golden knife shattered, and it lost its head to the Beast King's battle axe. At the same time, the Beast King's axe summoned 2 ancient beast phantoms, which also defeated 2 other out-of-control blood skeletons. However, one fire skeleton managed to strike the Beast King from behind. With a loud boom, flames erupted from his back. This flame, part of the 5 elements, was similar to an unquenchable fire that wouldn't extinguish until it burned through 15 of the enemy's health. It was also the most reliant output unit among the Beast King's 5-element skeleton soldiers. But now that it was affecting him, it hurt even more than any other unit's attack. Percentage-based damage was bearable, but who could withstand such an assault? Enduring the excruciating pain, the ancient beast phantoms continued to fight as they retreated, killing many frenzied blood skeletons along the way. Meanwhile, the Van Wind troops quickly breached the Beast King's defenses with coordinated ground and air support. This scene was also reflected in the eyes of the Demon Lord on the 18th floor and many higher-ups. The Beast King, this useless creature, couldn't hold on. The power I gave him was meant for him to achieve unexpected victories at critical moments, not to use his strongest attack right from the start. To be honest, if the Beast King had bided his time and utilized the Blood Pearl power given by the Demon Lord at a crucial moment, he might have turned the tide. Especially with the Blood Demon units flying in the sky. If controlled properly, they could be a game-changer. The Demon Lord looked at the dim-witted Beast King and was ready to tear him apart. Unfortunately, such actions would be futile now. Under the throne, 2 other subordinates eagerly volunteered. "My Lord Demon Lord, we cannot retreat any further. The 16th floor is our red line. The Beast King has a duty to defend. Let us charge. I, the Flame Demon King, and I, the Ancient Ice Beast, are willing to go guard the 16th floor. Kill Subai?" Currently, within the Demon Palace, no one dared to underestimate the power of humanity anymore. Previously, the battle in the Myriad Worlds lasted for 7 days, with both sides concentrating their strongest forces for a showdown at the Great Wall. Often, humanity would achieve a Pyrrhic victory, with the Great Wall being breached multiple times, allowing many beings from the Myriad Worlds to invade and cause destruction in the human realm. Overall, they managed to hold on, but today was different. This demon team was incredibly strong, able to counter the entire Myriad races with just 1 unit, and they had managed to corner their enemy within the Demon Palace. Surrounded on all sides, surprisingly, they were thriving here, growing stronger and more prominent, causing all who encountered them to retreat in fear. If today we cannot defeat Subai here, then next time, it won't be the invasion of the Myriad races into the Great Wall, but rather Subai invading the Myriad races and slaughtering them one by one. Thinking of this, the Demon Lord couldn't help but tremble slightly. He quickly concealed his embarrassment. "All right, you 2 brothers will guard the 16th layer and must take down Subai. This reward is for both of you. In the void, a scroll of parchment floated out. The high-ranking figures were shocked. This is one of the legendary sources of disaster for humanity, the Dead Sea Scrolls. This scroll records one of the strongest disasters, the apocalypse. 4 types of extreme disasters: war, plague, famine, and death. The two brothers carefully took the Dead Sea Scrolls, their hearts filled with excitement. The Demon Lord was truly making a significant effort this time, even bringing out such a treasure. Now victory is assured. Chapter 280, the 5-element mysterious domain. Such a powerful item, and you are not taking it? On the 15th layer, chaos reigned. Everywhere there were cries of battle. Magic exploded in a riot of colors. The Beast King